It's the Adam Gold Show. How are you? I'm Adam Gold. My friend Jay Williams from the Final Four, who tweeted out, I don't remember if it was after the game immediately or during the best way to put it, collapse. I'm going to be sick. That's how a lot of Duke fans felt. No doubt about it.
Yes.
It was
terrible.
It really, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it a lot. Brian Geisinger is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Mike DeCourcy is going to join us later. I've got my own thoughts. We have a lot of thoughts from the people who were there. We'll hear from the head coach and players and all of that. It was a very, very difficult final 15 minutes of real time, not of game time. A final 15 minutes of real time, which felt like a slow-moving accident. I think that's what it felt like. I think a lot of people, if I were more into this element, live betting could have been very lucrative. I have no idea what it was for if you bet the live line on Houston to win with about 8 minutes to go in the game. But I felt that the way Houston was playing and attacking and the way that Duke was sort of trying to get to the finish line, and that's an issue. We'll talk about that. I mean, Houston had to be plus 1,500 at that point.
I'm sure they were.
Right? At that point, when it was a
14-point lead?
14 with a little bit, like 11 minutes to go. But even Duke pushed it back up to like 10 or 11, with like 9 minutes to go. Something like that. I mean, I have it in front. I could look it up in the NCAA play-by-play. But I just felt like, man, we are not anywhere close to being decided here, even though we probably should have been. And, man, that would have been – remember I talk about emotional hedges? A lot of Duke fans, you know what, we throw five at Houston plus 1,500 and see what happens here. I mean, if that would have made it feel any better. I don't know if it would have. But I did not do that. I thought Duke would get to the finish line first. They did not. It was an unfortunate end to an otherwise great season, and we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Not just that. There's Hurricanes hockey over the weekend. They did the Friday, Saturday. Really? You did what? And I'm going to tell people why. If you are reacting negatively to it, you are simply not paying attention to the NHL. Just not. Sorry. That is a you problem. It's not a Hurricanes problem. It's a you problem. We got a lot of stuff to do. So here we go.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started.
Yeah, and I guess we're going to start with Duke. I have read too many of the hottest possible takes, and they are all, every single one of them is frustratingly over the top, and it almost sounds like, did you bet on this game? Because that's the way it reads to me. Clearly, Duke winning the national championship was the goal. I don't think Duke was alone in that. I think Florida's goal was to win a national championship. Auburn, Alabama, Houston, who knows who else, right, would fall into that category of teams that could have won a national championship this year. To call Duke's season a failure is, who hurt you? Who hurt you? Last Saturday night was a failure. The game itself was a failure. Duke, at I don't know how many times during the game, could have delivered a knockout punch. They had plenty of opportunities to do it and never did. And I think for a lot of it, some of the credit, if not most of the credit, goes to Houston. Let's not pretend that they weren't playing a team that had every right to claim that they were the best team in the field, too. The Big 12 was a great league. They went 19-1 in that league. Are you out of your freaking minds to disrespect that? Look, I thought Duke would win the title. I thought Duke was the best team.
I had that on my bracket.
Right. I had Duke over Florida winning it. And frankly, Duke should have won the game. But this is what Houston does. So, consider where Duke was. Oh, like 12-point lead and late in the first half. 31-19. Right? Yeah. Duke didn't close the half well. Duke closed the half like teams who aren't very good close the half. They allowed 3 wide open three-pointers. Houston was, in terms of efficiency and in terms of shooting percentages, one of the best three-point shooting teams in America, and you allowed them 3 wide open looks. That's bad defense. That ain't Duke. So a game that should have been double digits at halftime, and again, double-digit lead ain't that big a deal, was a 6-point lead at the half. Now, hey, look, Duke played really well to get a 6-point lead, but that was not the way to close out a half. And the last 10 minutes of the game, Duke, and this speaks to some of the failures of the game, Duke wasn't very good offensively or defensively the last 10 or so, maybe 8 to 10 minutes of the game. Oh, they have 1 field goal in the last half of the game? Last half of the second half? 1 field goal? It was the Cooper Flag 3 from the right wing. So, think about the way Duke played and the fact that they had a 14-point lead with about 11 minutes to play. Because Cooper Flag, who at times was great, but it also at times was clearly not great. He struggled to handle the ball well. He struggled around the rim. And that clip from Jay Will, Cooper Flag took a little bit of a fadeaway. You know, when he pulls up for the shot, he's about 10 to 12 feet away. But by the time he's ready to release it, he's about 15 feet away. And that was indicative of Duke over the last, I'd say, 6, 7, 8 minutes of the game, is that they were not going to the rim. They were getting in the paint, but then they were fading away. And I think this is where you go, see, that's what Houston does. That's what Houston does with their defense, is they eventually, they discourage you from going to the rim because they are here and they are wide old men. And they are here to put their body on yours and deal with it. And Duke didn't want to deal with it anymore. Cooper Flag didn't want to deal with it anymore. That was what it looked like to me. Duke got to the free throw line during the game, but they didn't get to the free throw line like Houston got to the free throw line in the latter stages. And that was the problem for me watching Duke play, was that they became I don't really want that. Let me shoot from here. That's what Duke did, I thought, in the last 8 or so minutes of the game. And I think a lot of that was Cooper Flag. If you read the official NCAA box and the play-by-play, step back, fade away. Wait a second. Where's going to the rack? Where's going to the rim? And, maybe you get the basket and the foul like he did it. There was one sequence in the first half, right? He missed a shot that he probably should have made, but then he got the offensive rebound and said, I'm going right to the basket. And he had the foul and the wraparound layup. Anyway, so I thought that was evident. Tyrese Proctor wasn't good. No good. Second straight big game like that. Final Four game, Last year in the Elite Eight against NC State, not good. Missed the front end of the one-on-one. He had trouble handling the ball late. Sion James, for all his veteranness, and he was great all year long. He was not really good. Missed a lot of baskets inside, and clearly too cautious on the inbounds. And this will get me to John Shire in a minute. By the way, he was minus 16 defensively. Sion James played a lot. When he was on the court, Duke was minus 16. Kamon Malawach, 21 minutes, no rebounds. No rebounds. Minus 20 point differential when he was on the floor. 21 minutes. Minus 20. He's supposed to be the guy that is dynamite defensively to, take away inside shots. He was not. He was ineffective in the game. He got some dunks. He made some free throws, but he was ineffective. Now, real quick aside, I can't document this, but there is a very good chance that he was alerted to major visa problems for him, student visa problems for him, going into the game. I saw the story about it, and look, there's a lot going on in this world that isn't about basketball, and it impacts a lot of people who are here for school, for otherwise. It actually will impact the Hurricanes as well, Carolina Hurricanes, quite possibly as well. But we're talking about, keep in mind that Duke had a 14-point lead with about 11 minutes to play. And we just mentioned three starters who didn't play well, and Cooper Flagg, who, while great, was also at times not very good. The team also allowed, what was that? The number one factor for me, what Duke had to be aware of all week long, offensive rebounding.
Mm-hmm.
Houston grabbed 46% on the offensive boards. 46%! I promise you, if that's not a season worst for Duke, it's pretty doggone close. 10 second chance points in the final 11 minutes for the Cougars. 10. And again, Duke played poorly on the defensive end. Forget about offense. Poorly on the defensive end at the end of the first half, and then in the last 5, 6, 7 minutes. And now we get to coaching issues. We're gonna play some sound here in a minute. No real bench usage in the second half at all. And we had been talking about that as well, leading up to this game, that John Shire had really shortened his bench in the second half. More of a liberal use of it in the first half, although, hey, look, I get Isaiah Evans was part of the bad defense in the first half. He was a minus 6 in a minute 30. That's no good. I would have used Caleb Foster more. Caleb Foster might have been a better option for you than Tyrese Proctor in the second half. But bench usage was bad. In the second half, it was basically Brown for Malawach, and Mason Gillis didn't really do much for you. I know he had the technical foul, whatever. I don't think that had as big a role to play in the entirety of the game as some other people did, but it certainly didn't help. Sion James was a deer in the headlights when it came to the inbounds, and maybe that was something that John should have recognized earlier and changed. I don't know, maybe at that point, Flagg throws the ball in bounds, or Knipple throws the ball in bounds. But boy, Sion really, really struggled with that. I didn't think it was a good idea to take the air out of the ball. With about 6, 7 minutes to go, you could tell Duke was trying to shorten the game. Just run your offense. There's too much time left. Not only should you run your offense because there's a lot of time left, you have a 14-point lead. You're doing enough right. Why would you change what you're doing? That bothered me. And I do think that they should have run their offense through Con Knipple more than they did. But all of those things, I'm just guessing from my couch. Or my rocking chair, as it were. It was a very disappointing end to an otherwise outstanding season. To call this season a failure is over the top, in my opinion. Saturday night was a failure, no doubt about it. But you got to a Final Four. You won a conference championship doing the double. You won the championship tournament without your best player. I don't know, man. I got a hard time calling that a failure. So a lot of teams are here to win a national championship. Somebody, had Duke beaten Houston and lost to Florida tonight, is the season a failure? I don't think so. So it wasn't a failure. So to me, that's an unnecessary hot take. Now, to the head coach. All right, we've talked about some things down the stretch, and we can look at the anatomy of a collapse down the stretch. John Shire on what went wrong.
Houston's a team that doesn't quit. I mean, they're never going to stop. And so my messaging throughout the whole way with the team was understand this team doesn't go away. So no lead is safe with them. We can talk about not scoring down the stretch, but for me, it's our defense. We give up 42 points in the second half. That's what carried us in the first half. I thought the last segment to close the half was big. We gave them 4 threes, and then some uncharacteristic plays we probably made. And they hit some really tough shots. So for me, as I reflect in the moment, I look at our defense, and that was disappointing because even if we're not scoring, usually we get stops to get separation.
All right, now here's the last 2:05 of the game. Duke had the ball with a 7-point lead, 2 minutes and 5 seconds to go. The ball and a 7-point lead. Proctor turns it over. He dribbled it off his leg and out of bounds. All right, on the incoming play or the next sequence, Malik Brown was called for a defensive foul kind of at midcourt. Now, my opinion, bad call because there wasn't a foul on anybody. Malik didn't reach, didn't do any, whatever, doesn't matter. But I thought they should have just played on because he didn't cause the contact. It was the guy, running into him, and again, whatever. But it was called. That's fine. You move on. They make 2 free throws. Cooper Flagg makes 2 free throws. So we're back to square one. It's a 7-point game, but Houston's got the ball. Malawak commits a foul. Now it's a 5-point lead. Technical foul on the inbounds. Remember on Houston, the guy reached across and touched the ball when it was still in the hands of Sion James. So Knipple goes down, makes a free throw. It's now 6. Then Khan, layup. Now maybe this would have been a good time to a little ball fake, whatever. He goes to lay it up. It's blocked from behind. Great defensive play by Houston. They do that. Houston makes a 3. Why, in a 6-point game, is Duke allowing a 3-point shot? You should have 5 guys on the 3-point line. You do whatever you want, but you're not shooting a 3. That's not how Duke played it. Then came the Sion James. They've already had trouble throwing the ball inbound. Sion James turnover, which was a very, very interceptable pass intended for Cooper Flagg. Man, you just got to be better getting the ball inbounds. And it ended up being a second chance dunk, right? So the lead was 3. You turn it over inbounds. The guy misses a 3. And offensive rebound dunk. Now it's a 1-point game. Foul. Tyrese Proctor misses the front end of a 1-and-1. Cooper Flagg called for it over the back. Bad call, but whatever. Made 2 free throws. A 62% free throw shooter. Tyrese Proctor, you spent most of the year in the 70s. In the tournament, not good. Less than 50%. And then you get the possession with down 1 with 18 seconds left or whatever it was. You sort of get the shot you want, except that it isn't really the shot you want because it's going away from the basket, not to the basket. And Flagg short-armed the shot, and there you go. The anatomy of blowing a 7-point lead with the ball in 2:05. And there's a lot of reasons maybe for that, and we can talk about it. But I have been of the mind that, and I thought that Duke would be above it. I did. I thought that they would be immune to it because they had stopped playing against their competition this year. But I can't help but think that in the back of my head, Duke got Gonzaga'd. And when I say that, I mean Gonzaga has been a great team for the last 2 decades. But they play in a bad league. Not that the league is terrible. It is what it is. It's a small league. This year, the ACC was horrific. And it just did not provide Duke with enough competition. Night in and night out challenges. It just didn't provide Duke with enough. And Peter Burns from ESPN, does a lot of stuff on the SEC network, says that it was really the fault of the league.
The ACC had one of the most horrific regular seasons that we had seen. Okay, what only a couple teams made the tournament, and Duke was the only one that really was good all season long. The fact that Duke at some point would beat Virginia Tech by 30, beat SMU by 30, beat Pitt by 30, beat Notre Dame handily. They absolutely crushed Miami, absolutely crushed NC State, crushed North Carolina, crushed Syracuse. Were they ready for that? Were they ready for that moment? When you had young guys, when was the last time that Duke had fully been pressed? It hadn't been in the tournament. And this is a situation in which, yes, you did have your contender, but when it came down to it, were they battle-tested? They weren't.
I don't know if I'm to lie. They were like, I'm pretty sure, I mean, other than the games against the small school, easy wins at the beginning of the season, I think I watched every Duke game. I think Duke was challenged, legitimately challenged, 6 times this year. And 4 of them were losses. Kentucky, Kansas, Clemson, and Houston. In every one of those games, Duke lost control of their defense in the late in the game. All of them. Clemson closed the game. Clemson had like a 7-0 run or a 10-0 run or something to turn a deficit into a lead down at Little John. But in all of those games, Duke had the ball in the hands of Cooper Flagg late, and they went 0 for 4 in those possessions. And I'm not talking about 0 for 4 shooting. I'm talking about 0 for 4 in success. So it happened again against Houston. But the other 2 games that I consider to be competitive, NC State, who took it to them at Cameron Indoor Stadium, and Duke won that game simply because they had way more talent. And Carolina at the ACC tournament in the quarterfinals on Thursday night. And Tar Heel fans are going, man, we could have won that game. We should have won that game. And you can make that argument. Duke had an enormous lead and then just completely went away. So I do think, and maybe this is my hot take. Okay, this could be my hot take. But I've been saying this all year long, that my fear was that by not being put through it every single game, or at least enough, no conference is put through it every single game. The SEC was this year, to be honest. Maybe this is the problem. This is why that Duke needs the rest of the league to be better. So your wins aren't automatic like almost every single game for Duke in ACC play was this year. Again, I will admit, maybe that's my hot take, that the ACC failed Duke. Now, Duke failed themselves on Saturday, for real. All right, let's break. Brian Geisinger will join us when we come back. We'll talk about the anatomy of going from 14 up to 3 down in the span of 11 game minutes when you have the best roster in the sport. Next.
questioning goalie interference calls since day one. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Golf's first major will be found on 99.9 The Fan. Listen all week long as we cover golf's lasting tradition, the Masters. Find out if Scotty Scheffler can run it back at Augusta or if a new champion emerges. Depend on us for constant leaderboard updates and every big moment through the presentation of the Champion's Jacket. Coverage of the Masters on 99.9 The Fan is teed up by Treyburn Country Club, the Triangle's Golf Escape.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, and we are down to 2, and it doesn't even matter if one of them is the wrong team. You can still bet on the biggest game of the college basketball season tonight. And right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins $200 of their money to do everything you want in the world of sports wagering. All you got to do is win your first $5 bet, new customers. FanDuel.com/AdamGold. FanDuel.com/AdamGold. It's the biggest game of the college basketball season that doesn't involve Duke. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Now in Sanford, the Chatley Marine Boat Show and Sale featuring Yamaha boats. With giant indoor showrooms and an on-site test lake, Chatley's the choice for your next Yamaha boat. Find a huge selection of 19 through 25-foot runabouts and the popular Wake Series boats. With special financing, discounts up to $6,000, and immediate delivery available, now is the time to get your new Yamaha at the best price. Hurry to the Chatley Marine Boat Show and Sale in Sanford. ChatleyBoats.com.
Cool cars, cool people, good times. America's favorite car show is back. The Good Guys 10th Griots Garage North Carolina Nationals presented by Trimmett. April 18th and 19th at the North Carolina State Fairgrounds in Raleigh. Cruise on out and see over 1,500 of the Southeast's finest hot rods, muscle cars, and trick trucks. Autocross racing, a Saturday night demolition derby, vendor midway, live entertainment, and more. April 18th and 19th at the North Carolina State Fairgrounds. Details at good-guys.com.
Is going to your local bar the worst part of your day? The bartender ignores you, mediocre food, warm beer? Then why go there? Take 5 minutes and drop in at Sharky's, where they'll give you a free evaluation, and you can learn about all the bars that you shouldn't go to. Sharky's has helped thousands find the right bar to hang at. What are you waiting for? Sharky's evaluation could be the cure to the worst part of your day. Change your bar, change your life. Sharky's, 5800 Durley Road by the Shell Station.
Child abuse. It happens in all communities. Learning to spot the signs of abuse and knowing how to report it can save a child's life. Children's Advocacy Centers of North Carolina supports over 50 centers statewide, providing hope and healing to young victims of abuse, neglect, and trauma. Join us in the fight against child abuse. Visit cacnc.org to learn more. That's cacnc.org.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times? You're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
One Adam Gold. One Adam Gold.
Was the hug because of the soft, fuzzy thing you're wearing?
It's a comment. I'm a great hugger. People like to hug me. So, but yes, it's helpful when I'm soft and fuzzy.
Is that a skill?
It may be, yes.
I think it is a skill.
I think it is a skill.
Yeah.
You know who else gives really great hugs? Mike Meniscalco.
Really?
He is one of my favorite huggers. Yes. Every time I see him, he gives the best hugs.
I'm going to try that at the next home game.
Do it.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Victoria on the ones and twos. We will talk a little Hurricanes hockey later on. Alexander Ovechkin, now also the all-time leading goal scorer. Gretzky was there. It was a fun listen if you didn't happen to watch it. Also, we'll talk a little bit about UConn's 12th national championship in women's basketball. Absolutely amazing. 30 years between the first and the 12th. Unreal. Brian Geisinger, as we split the action on Substack and we discuss Duke's really shocking capitulation at the hands of Houston in the national semifinal, the second national semifinal, coming from 14 up with about 11 minutes to play to 3 down at the end. I have been talking about this, Brian, in terms of it being players just not playing well, maybe strategy that was not the best strategy, things like that, things that maybe we recognized. And, of course, a lot of this could be considered after the fact. I'm not even having that debate. But was there something in terms of a game plan or an adjustment that Duke didn't make that could have helped?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can start sort of like the obvious place, which was just like the inability to kind of get the ball in bounds against Houston's press. And, I mean, all season long, Duke's press break has been pretty good. Like, they've got, good connected passers. And, I mean, how many times this season have we seen Duke beat a press with, one dribble or two dribble and just guys just popping the ball up the court?
Right.
And then into those 2-on-1s with Malawach at the rim, and it turns into a lob or whatever, but they couldn't even get the ball free. And the one thing Duke didn't do this at all this season, but I was sort of curious, like if you'd watched the Florida Auburn game beforehand, when Auburn was trying to turn the heat up late and they're pressing Florida, and some of those late game situations with Florida's taking the ball in bounds, and they went to the little shotgun football style inbounds where they have all 5 guys lined up out of bounds, and that way the defense can't be touching them. They can't be attached, and then everyone just runs little button hooks all over the court. Maybe someone's running a fly pattern. I kind of would have liked for Duke to just, because I thought once they get the ball in, then all of a sudden the passing sort of just clicks in. You've got Cooper and Sion and Colin especially that are gonna just pop it over the top. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more Malik Brown, and I know he's maybe he's not in great game shape. He hasn't played a lot the last couple of weeks as he's been dealing with this shoulder injury.
Right.
But I just thought his passing, his defense, and I kind of like the look he gave them. With the way that Houston wants to defend pick and roll, they're gonna hard hedge, and they're gonna put 2 on the ball and they're gonna blitz. And look, Kaman Malawach is amazing. He's been outstanding. But I think this season, Kaman is sort of at his best in the pick and roll when you've got an opponent that's playing drop coverage, and in that way he can run. He and Conkinipple or Cooper, those guys can play 2-on-1 against the drop. But with the blitz, you've got those little short roll opportunities, and Kaman actually had a really nice pass to Sion off the short roll for a cut dunk earlier in the second half. But Malik and Pat Gongba are just so good and so natural on those. I kind of thought maybe a little bit more of one of those guys, and obviously for Malawach not to get a rebound in this game is a pretty rough look in a game where I think Houston's offensive rebounding is really the thing that along with sort of assertiveness on the stretch. And I mean, if we're being real too, Duke at some of these sort of higher leverage moments just kind of caught some tough breaks. It's the Tyrese Proctor. It's he actually hasn't shot, been a great free throw shooter this year, but for him to miss the front end of a one-on-one, then Cooper to get called for I thought a pretty weak over the back call.
Right.
Houston didn't take the lead in this game without having to make a shot against Duke's half court defense.
Yeah,
right?
It was all free throws.
So that's tough. And then obviously the Gillis, 6-point play, where he fouls while Houston's hitting a 3 at the 8-minute mark. So and then Cooper had had the ball in his racket there at the end, and got a decent shot, and it's that probably goes in 45% of the time, and misses it 45% of the time, and it not quite a coin toss, but so just there were some of these moments where things go a little bit different. Like if Malawach has 2 rebounds in this game, does Duke win? Like it's not, or if Tyrese makes 1 free throw, it's like, I don't think anyone will put the blame on any one person or Duke's scheme, but I thought there were just a couple of little tweaks here and there that maybe could have swung it, but Houston also gets a ton of credit. They stayed aggressive. Cryer made crazy shots. Like, they were great, too.
I agree. And I think the unfortunate part of what happened Saturday night is that, and I understand it because of the nature of the score with 11 minutes to go and what happened at the end, it will never be looked at as Houston's comeback. It will be looked at as Duke's collapse. And I'm not arguing one way or the other, but Houston will never get the credit that they deserve. But I want to go back to you when the first thing you talked about was Duke's inability to inbound the ball. And I thought it wasn't as much to me about how Duke tried to inbound the ball. I thought Sion James at that point had become so tentative that he was afraid of turning it over. So he didn't want to, make anything at all risky, and he was too tentative, which allowed Houston, I thought, to physically kind of intimidate Duke. Like there were opportunities to throw a bounce pass to Knipple, toward the corner. Kahn's going to go get that ball, or over the top. And he tried this. This was the turnover over the top the flag, but it was he short-armed the pass, and it was woefully short. And Flag never had a chance to get that. I thought James, as uncharacteristic as it was pretty much all year, I thought James was overcome by the moment, and I thought Proctor was overcome by the moment in this game, especially down the stretch. And this is why I asked if there was something structural about it, as opposed to, hey, Trip Tracy likes to say, do you grab the moment or do you let the moment grab you? And I think the moment grabbed Duke, especially those players.
Yeah, well, first off, Gold, you said Houston's win. Based off the reaction I saw on social media, I figured UNC was playing in the national title game here.
Holy cow! I haven't mentioned that at all. Yeah, I know, it's fine.
Based off what I saw online, but I could have been mistaken. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening at the same time. But look, Sion's been a stud all season for them. I've written about him. We've talked about him. He's been amazing. He's been like kind of the perfect player for them, and he's been really trustworthy as like an inbound guy for them, both on sort of like press break plays and on baseline under plays, like all that kind of stuff. So I think it's kind of natural if the moment, unless you were on one of a Maryland Final Four team goal, I don't think either one of us played in the Final Four.
No,
so
I was not. I was not. And I said that. It's easy for me to say this from the couch, right?
Yeah.
But it just looked like Sion was kind of freezing in the moment, and maybe a change in inbounder. I know James has been doing it all year, but it just looked like he wasn't comfortable. And maybe you're not supposed to be, but it looked like the moment got him.
Yeah, a little bit. And, they've used Kahn some in those roles, too. That's sort of been in more of these, like, specialty situations. And obviously in that scenario, you probably want to inbound the ball to Kahn. He's the best free throw shooter. But, I don't know, kind of given how much, Houston's going to sell out the trap, it's like, you could have Kahn inbound and pass it to someone and step in and you throw it back. I don't know. To me, it felt like once if they could get the ball in play, they could actually break it. But it was just like the inability to actually like cross the threshold, and get it actually like into the flow of play was the thing that was so tough. But I mean, I don't know. At this point, there's still a fair amount to process, I think, with Duke's season. But amazing year for those guys. I mean, ACC.
It wasn't a failure. I've read that it was a failure. All right, Brian Geisinger is joining us here. I don't think it was. I thought Saturday night. Yeah. You can definitely call Saturday night a failure. I don't think the season was a failure. @bguys_bird. I texted you in the first half of the game. And right at the end of the first half, might have been beginning of the second half. I think it was the end of the first half. And I was curious. Duke's defense, I mean, they knew what Houston wanted to do. Right, and we went into the game talking about the offensive rebounding for the Cougars and how that could be an issue. I don't know if 46% offensive rebound allowance by the Blue Devils was a season low, but I don't know that there were any other games that looked as bad as this one to me in that regard. But Duke seemed to allow open threes and easy drives. So what was wrong with Duke's defense that allowed Houston to do both of those things?
I mean, some of it, look, in the first half, I actually posted about this during the game. Duke used 4 different pick and roll coverages in the first half alone. They switched. They were in drop coverage. They weaked and tried to push Houston's ball handlers. They're all right-handers. They tried to force them left. And they like trapped and blitzed. I actually thought some of their best defensive possessions in this game were where they actually had the center guarding pick and roll, like really step out and pressure. And then I just thought Cooper Flagg and Sion James, their like ground coverage and hustle on the backside, and they're sort of like forearm. They got a couple of turnovers that way. So I thought that was actually a pretty nice wrinkle. That's not something Duke does all that often. And so I thought that was a pretty good wrinkle. Look, I understand I wrote about this before the game. Like, I thought Duke would play start and drop and then move to switch, as it's sort of a bit of thing that they've done throughout the year. It's tough because Houston's guards are tough shot makers, off the dribble. They make, I think it was coming into this game, I think it was 74% of their two-pointers were unassisted this season. And this is a team that it's a lot of like off dribble shot making, and Pryor really had it rolling with some tough makes and sort of the maker nature of the game, And Tyrese Proctor had some really good open catch and shoot look threes in this game, right? That are on average, like absolutely a more efficient shot than a contested, pull up two by LJ Cryer.
Yeah.
But, the ball bounces weird sometimes. But also a guy like Uzan is awesome. And I think he was able to get Malawatch on a couple of switches and drive around him too. So combination of Houston had good guards, and when Uzan wasn't in foul trouble and could stay on the court. And I mean, Cryer kind of went under the radar, but like he had kind of like the game of his life is maybe a little extreme, but like he was awesome. And just, it should be noted too, like the way Houston plays, it's in a way it is like this supercharged version of like how Kevin Keats would want to play offense, but at State, but with much better offensive rebounding, like trying to win the possession game, turnover avoidance, beat you up on the glass, keep the ball in the hands of your like main guards. And I guess we haven't even named Jawan Roberts. He obviously made some big plays against switches and too. So I just think they were able to really attack those switches in ways that, for the most part this season, Duke's switch has been kind of like the ace in the hole for them.
Yeah.
And Houston, their guards and their front court guys on the glass and Roberts in the post just made it tough.
Yeah. Roberts made those 2 free throws. 62% free throw shooter, made them both. Emmanuel Sharp was enormous down the stretch. I mean, he made basically I think he scored like 10 straight points for Houston at one point. He was tremendous down the stretch. And again, I just thought that their guys just handled the moment. What do you think? Final minute with Brian Geisinger at bgeis_bird. Split the action on Substack. I mean, the breakdown going into the game was absolutely awesome, and I can't wait to read more of your stuff. So tell me if there is what do you think the biggest learning experience for Shire is going to be coming out of this?
Man, I mean, I think the biggest learning experience really should be just how much he should know this as a veteran of the NCAA tournament, so maybe not a learning experience, but just like how much the tournament can be just like it's brutal how much of a crapshoot it is. It's like you can have all the right stuff in place. You can have the scheme set up. You can have a double-digit lead in the Final Four, with the best player in the country on your side. And, like, it just, it takes, one Mason Gillis, box-out elbow too high to the head of JoJo Tugler, and, stuff starts going sideways. So
yeah.
There's that. But the only other thought I kind of had would be, like, I am curious to see how the guard positions are maybe addressed with Duke going forward. Like, Sion and Tyrese were just amazing for them this season. So it's hard to they were an awesome backcourt. But I think having sort of like a little bit more kind of like in between pull up shooting, kind of like off the dribble might be like just like a guard that could finish from all levels of the court as like a high usage playmaker type. Because like, Tyrese was really in this sort of like off ball role this season. He was awesome in it this year. And Sion did a little bit of everything for them. Like he definitely, organized offense for them. But a lot of it was him sort of like bringing the ball up, getting them into sets, then him playing in the corner and the dunker spot and playing off of guys like Cooper and Kahn. And I don't know, maybe just one more sort of like breakdown guard, sort of like prioritizing that kind of role as a big thing to have late in games. But I don't know. I mean, I would just say it's like the tournament's a crapshoot, and I don't know. They put together a great product this year.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, I agree. My answer to my question is simply don't slow the game down too early. And I think their fatal flaw was 6 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go, starting to look at the finish line. Rather,
they did that against UNC and Charlotte too. The same
should have
thing.
lost.
But when they did it against Alabama, it kind of like they were just running their stuff and clicking and but getting into it later in the clock and bleeding sometimes. So yeah, that might be another thing too. A little bit more like not taking the air out of the ball until it's like the under 4 or something like that, depending on game time situation. Brian
Geisinger, split the action on Substack at bgeist_bird. My man, we're not done. I'll talk to you later.
Yep. Stay tuned. I got portal season coming up here too.
You got it. Thanks, man. I appreciate your time.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna do one-timers when we come back. We still have to talk about the Hurricanes. Oh, look at this. I know. Don't see. We're here. We're still here. What do you think? You like that?
Oh yeah, it's fancy.
Why did that go off? On YouTube. Why did that go off? We need more light. And why it shut off?
It was too fancy.
It was too fancy for this. We're still here. It's a silhouette. It's like when we talked to Brendan last week. One-timers next.
Talking sports so you don't have to pretend to know stuff. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And here it is, the national championship game in college basketball from the best place to have the basketball tournament, San Antonio. And you can enjoy it on the best sports betting app on planet Earth. It is FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So choose wisely, pick something easy, win, and then get $200 of their money. FanDuel.com/AGS. It's the biggest game on the biggest stage. FanDuel.com/AGS. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
This April, join North Carolina Realtors in celebrating Fair Housing Month. Fair housing means everyone deserves a place to call home, regardless of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, or disability. NC Realtors are committed to fair housing for all North Carolinians and ensuring that everyone has access to safe and affordable housing. Let's work together to create communities where everyone can thrive. Visit ncrealtors.org to learn more about fair housing. paid for by NC Realtors.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is looking for people age 21 or older to volunteer in long-term care facilities. Community Advisory Committee volunteers help residents and their families advocate for the needs of individuals living in long-term care facilities, such as nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and family care homes. Volunteers must complete orientation and training to become designated and certified representatives of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Visit ncdhhs.gov/aging to find your county's ombudsman.
Every day, people battling addiction suffer in silence. Because of stigma, they fear judgment. They fear being labeled, and too often, they don't get the help they need. But you can help change that. Join the Governor's Institute and be a superhero in the overdose battle campaign. Learn how to break the stigma, support those in need, and save lives. Visit governorsinstitute.org/superhero to get involved. Be a hero, fight stigma, save a life.
The Body Armor State Games are coming to Greensboro this June. Registration is open to athletes of all ages and skill levels in 20 different sports. The Body Armor State Games feature 11,000 athletes and 600 teams. Don't miss out on North Carolina's largest sports festival of the year. Visit bodyarmorstategames.org today. That's bodyarmorstategames.org. The Body Armor State Games are proud to partner with Truist, Lowe's Foods, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina.
Did you know that since you have public power, your electricity is operated and controlled by people in your community, not by a for-profit investor-owned company? These local folks are directly accountable to you. They don't answer to shareholders. They make decisions for the good of your community. What's more, your public power provider invests in your community, providing jobs and supporting your local economy. Local people working together to meet local needs. That's public power. Learn more at electricities.com.
This is Adam Gold.
Frankly, I'm not sure that there is a sport that we could theoretically even put in the Olympics that isn't. I said bowling. Yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Croquet? Lawn darts?
I'm waiting for cornhole.
Oh, there's somebody that thinks, yeah.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. I am here. If you're watching on YouTube, going through some, some issues here, we knew that the lights were going to be out, so we got a light, just so you could see that we're here.
It's like a campfire.
Exactly. We're going to sing songs and tell ghost stories.
Marshmallows, yeah. Not peeps, but marshmallows.
No, gosh. Oh, peeps. We're into peep season, by the way.
We are in peep season.
We are fully. All right. Right now, it's time for one-timers.
Okay, so on our YouTube stream, I see you all. So some questions coming from there. This one from Justin. The way that Duke lost, is that a knock on Jon Scheyer not being able to win in big games?
Did we say the same thing for all of the Final Fours? Dean Smith was in, Mike Krzyzewski was in. I mean, again, I realize it's hot take season, but this is his third year. They got to an Elite Eight last year. Probably should have won that game against NC State. Didn't. I mean, I don't think Duke's team was really as good as people thought they were. They were just a 4 seed last year. So there were obviously some issues with that team. They lost to a great team. And, yeah, they blew it. No question. No, I don't think this is an indictment on Jon Scheyer at all. Again, third year. Learn. Everybody's got to learn.
All right, next up from Bondwin. How come James never ran on the baseline on the inbound pass?
Sometimes he did. He didn't necessarily run the whole baseline. Sometimes he did move, I believe. But at other times, like after you call a time, I think after you call a timeout, you can. But after a ball gets knocked out of bounds, you can't. So I also think that, I said it before, I think, as Trip Tracy said, sometimes you grab the moment and sometimes the moment grabs you. And I think the moment grabbed Sion James.
Yeah. Well, and this will probably be last but not least. A few people are asking for a Nikishin update.
There is none. His season ended. His team got eliminated from the playoffs in the 6th game. But The Hurricanes have yet to sign him, and there will be visa issues. How can there be a visa issue coming from what amounts to America? I thought we have become besties now. I thought it would be easy to get him here.
Chapel Hill to Charlotte, Greenville to Greensboro. Your sports, his state. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Are you suffering from chronic joint pain or just struggling with daily activities because of discomfort in your knees, back, or other parts of your body? Well, I've got great news. It's called DaVita Med Spa and Wellness, a solution that can help you get back to feeling like yourself again without the risks of invasive surgery or long-term prescription drug use. DaVita Med Spa and Wellness is a regenerative medicine clinic. Their innovative treatment options address the root cause of your pain to promote healing and prevent re-injury for long-lasting pain relief. If you have arthritis, joint pain, sports injuries, or other conditions, their highly trained medical providers will develop a cutting-edge treatment plan tailored just for you with little to no downtime. DaVita Med Spa and Wellness can get you back to doing the things you love. Call DaVita Med Spa and Wellness today, spelled DVIDA. Call 984-333-1313, 984-333-1313, 984-333-1313.
If Heineken Silver was a 60-second radio ad, it'd tell you all the stuff you need to know in only 30 seconds to keep things light and refreshing. Seriously, time me. Heineken Silver, a world-class light beer that's surprisingly crisp and refreshing. Made with only premium quality ingredients and just 2.9 grams of carbs and 95 calories. All without compromising on taste. Heineken Silver. Order now at Heineken.com/silver. Must be 21 and older to purchase. Enjoy Heineken responsibly. Whew. 30 seconds. That's it. Done. Peace.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, wondering how you got so behind? Hey, I'm Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. I get it. Life is expensive now. Insurance, groceries, cars. And then there's the credit card debt with those obscene interest rates. It's time to regain your financial freedom. And that's what we offer at Loan Pronto, using the power of the equity in your home. We have multiple ways to get you the cash you need, and most clients close in 2 weeks or less, and many don't even require an appraisal. And listen, rates have been plummeting recently. We just locked a homeowner in with an APR in the low fives, saving her over $1,000 per month, and put $10,000 in her pocket. Life-changing money. Whether you're drowning in debt, have a nosebleed rate you got last year, need home improvements, or simply need cash in your pocket, we can help you accomplish this goal in record time. Call us today and get started with no hard credit pull, just a conversation. LoanPronto.com, 919-381-1760. LoanPronto.com. That's LoanPronto.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
It's a big week in golf. Global Golf has everything you need to get ready for your next round. Browse all the top brands like Callaway, TaylorMade, Mizuno, Ping, and Titleist, plus expert help from our team of PGA Golf professionals for lessons and fittings. Global Golf has you covered with Carolina's largest selection of pre-owned clubs and the easiest way to trade in your current golf clubs. Visit Global Golf today and get ready to play. Located on 7320 ACC Boulevard, North Raleigh. Global Golf, home of the best deals in golf.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel neglected or unloved? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag with a Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, Junior Hot and Crispy Fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California and via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm. Injury lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to RitchieLaw.com.
That's RitchieLaw.com.
They score! Broadcasting live from the Lenovo Studios. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. 99.9 The Fan. The Triangle Sports Leader.
Flag a crossover, a drive, got to the block, in on Cryer, step through to the corner, Foster, up top Proctor, a touch pass for a Knipple three. Good! Around the horn it goes! And for the first
first time tonight, a double-digit lead. Malowacz got one hand on the rebound. It's loose. Cooper dug it out. Goes back up. Oh! He reversed it home! And he's got a free throw coming as well. How did he find the angle?
You know, you're an inch away from the national championship game. That's what the tournament is all about.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Lights are back on. Isn't that beautiful? Welcome to those of you on YouTube. YouTube.com/Adam Gold Show or 99.9 The Fan, either way. Victoria's here.
Yep. And Brandon, he said it looked like a story time around the campfire.
Oh, I've been known to do story time before. On this program, we tell a lot of stories. Look, we have fun. We have 3 hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just
I love it.
Slip into nostalgia mode.
Just every time you talk about stories, I think of Aileen, because the one time you said story time, and I was like, all right, story time, and you said, do you mean that in a certain way? Because Aileen says that too.
She hates that. Oh, should I get a cup of tea?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, here it comes.
Yep.
Here it comes.
Wait
Dad's
for
going to tell stories again. Oh, Jack, come here. Listen.
Yeah.
Nobody gets mocked. Well, I shouldn't say nobody because I'm sure people get mocked in their own house. But I do.
Oh, big time.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
No question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, so we might have story time.
Yeah.
Look, we went into this Final Four weekend, and I think we framed it correctly. I thought this Duke team had every chance to be the best Duke team I'd ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to be that, you had to win it. And at some point this week, we're going to catch up with Jay Williams. And Jay Williams was on one of the best, maybe two of the best Duke teams to not win. 2000. Could have won. Didn't. Lost in the Sweet 16 to an Indiana team that ultimately, no, that was 2002. But that Indiana team ultimately played for the national championship against Maryland and lost. 2000. A team that went to Syracuse and lost to a Seton Hall team that ultimately fell to Florida. Florida went on to the Final Four that year. Didn't win a national championship. That was a Michigan State year. The 99 team was amazing. Didn't win. Lost in the title game to Connecticut. Connecticut's first national championship. So John was right. And Brian was right. The learning experience is that the tournament is a crapshoot. No matter who you are, no matter how good you are, it's hard. The manner in which Duke lost has everything to do with how we're talking about it. Everything to do with it. Not that Duke lost. If they had simply lost a straight-out slugfest with Houston, back and forth, 4-point game the whole way, and lost the game, it would never be termed a failure.
Very
ever.
different, yeah.
But how they lost mattered. It mattered to the hot take brigade. Now, my hot take, and we'll talk about this next hour with Mike DeCourcy, and I know he will tell me I'm crazy. I think Duke got Gonzaga'd. When you play so few games in your league that are truly competitive, it's really hard to be accustomed to those brightest lights moments. Just didn't play enough games that they could really lose, unless they did it. And they ended up doing it. They ended up, they did enough bad to help Houston along. Houston played great. Duke helped them out. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get our second look at the news of the day. We haven't talked about the fact that Hurricanes lost twice over the weekend, Friday night, Saturday night in Boston. We'll get to that. But yesterday, on Long Island, with Wayne Gretzky and his wife Janet in the house, the commissioner who came over from his office in Midtown, Alexander Ovechkin, hit the number.
back into his own zone there. But no, look, he's just trying to find a seam and know that, hey, I'm going to try to force it to him if he's open.
Here is Ovechkin. Shoots! He scores! He scores! Number 895!
Did Kenny Albert have a mic?
I know. Wow.
That's how it heard. You could hear that on TNT. Also heard it on the Capitals. I heard a play-by-play highlight of the Capitals broadcast, Joe Beninati and company, and they had done all 895 Ovechkin goals. Best goal scorer in the history of the league, to an extent. Most goals, but just a great moment for the league. So gracious from Wayne Gretzky to not only be there throughout, but also to clearly enjoy watching his record get broken.
Yep. Only took 31 years.
Gordie Howe held the goal-scoring record for 31 years. And then Gretzky had it for 31 years.
Right.
You want to know what else? This is real. This is the absolute truth. Alexander Ovechkin. What was yesterday's date? April 6th.
Yes.
April 6th, whatever the draft year was the day that the Washington Capitals won the draft lottery.
Oh, wow.
Which got them Alexander Ovechkin.
Look at that. Look at the universe.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Anyway, good for Ovechkin. All right, now to the Hurricanes, who lost Friday night in Detroit and Saturday night in Boston. We'll get to the Boston game in a minute. And here is, after that Boston game, Sebastian Aho, who was not good in the game, on what this team probably should adjust over the final 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, just keep working in our game. You can tell, last 2 games we haven't played our game right, and it's not pretty, right? But at least we saw that there's no other way. We just have to play with how we know and how we want, and that is gonna, that'll give us the best chance to win.
All right, so here was my view, and we do this podcast after every game, Canes Corner podcast, also on YouTube, youtube.com/Canes Corner. The fact that they lost these last 2 games, to me, is not alarming. There were some things within the 2 games that bothered me. I didn't like the fact that Pyotr Kochetkov wasn't any good. Shouldn't say, none of the goals were bad, but I think a more confident goaltender probably stops 2 of them, maybe 3 of them, in which case you're right in the game in a one-shot game. It's 5-3. And it was 4-3 at one point. If you get better goaltending, you might win that. You might get away with it because you're better than Detroit. The Boston game was, Carolina had tons of scoring chances. It wasn't about, could we generate enough offense? They could have lost that game 5-4. But they lost it 5-1 and the goal came late. So it looks like they got blown out. But they should have scored more goals. But the bottom line is, if you tell me that Sebastian Aho and Jacob Slavin are going to have 2 of their worst defensive games of the year, I'll tell you that Carolina lost the game. Slavin was -5. Aho was -3. They were no good. Carolina's defense was the problem in Boston. They were so poor on that side of the puck. They generated more than enough to win. They just didn't win. So the other part of this is, I don't know why anybody thinks that any night against any team is an automatic. Carolina's playing Buffalo tomorrow. Here's a list of Buffalo's 5 of their last 6 wins. Tampa Bay, Ottawa twice, and Ottawa's playing as well as any team in the East, Washington, and Winnipeg. Okay. So I understand the Sabres are 15th out of 16 in the East right now. You tell those teams that Buffalo's easy to play. They ain't going to be easy to play. Carolina's going to absolutely have to play well to win that game. Not going to fake it to make it. So we have a problem here. Every team is going through the same exact thing the Hurricanes are going through. I watched Dallas capitulate at home to Pittsburgh on Saturday. How did the Stars, the great Dallas Stars, lose at home to Sidney Crosby had a hat trick? But Dallas was bad in the game. They had a 3-2 lead in the third period. And Ryan Russ scored to tie it. I forget who scored to put him ahead. And then Crosby scored into the empty net for the hat trick. Like, it just ain't easy, people. It's just not easy. My two quick takeaways in terms of what I am concerned about. Because Freddie Anderson wasn't good in Boston either. 2 of the first 3 goals, no, can't go. Even though there were defensive breakdowns, Freddie's been too good to allow those goals. Frederik Andersen's next start, which maybe it'll be tomorrow, even though he's just started on Saturday. His next start is the biggest start of the year for the Hurricanes. Not for him, for the Hurricanes. Because we don't have to get that Freddie stopping almost 95% of his shots, but we can't have what we saw in Boston. So we need solid Freddie Andersen. Because I don't know that Kochetkov is going to repair himself enough between now and the end of the season to say, all right, we can start the playoffs with him. We need a better version of Freddie. That's my one concern. And the other is, and Andrei Svechnikov practiced today. So did Jordan Staal. So did William Carrier in a real practice. I don't expect Carrier to draw back into the lineup just so soon. But in my opinion, and I said this on the podcast the other day, Jordan Staal just needs to shake the rust off. Jordan Staal's game, he'll come back into the lineup, he'll be the same Jordan Staal. And maybe he'll have a little bit of an extra burst in his step after being out for a few games and just getting a little energy back. But the Hurricanes need to see Andrei Svechnikov play well. Because right now, Andrei would be a candidate to come out of the lineup the way he had been playing. And I'm not talking about due to injury. I'm talking about due to performance. They need to see a better version of Andrei. I mean, again, the scoring will come if he plays the game the way he's supposed to play. Hopefully, he will. All right, back to some hoops. John Shire on the season coming to an abrupt end.
I mean, it's been a special ride that ended in a heartbreaking way. And frankly, the game, we did what we wanted to do. I thought our guys followed the game plan, controlled the game. We had the lead for 35 minutes. We're winning by 6 with 1:15 to go. And they made plays, and you got to give them a ton of credit. We didn't make those plays, and you go from some of the most special moments in the tournament to the most heartbreaking loss.
All right, Cooper Flagg on what he would have changed down the stretch.
Just communication. I mean, I think me and Sion messed up a switch. Got to get the ball in bounds, find whatever we had to do, just find a way to get the ball in bounds. But yeah, I think that was a big messed up communication play between me and Sion that led to a big 3.
Yeah. The inbound pass over to Flagg didn't go. Got intercepted. Defensively, Duke allowed too many good looks from three-point range. I think Houston was 10 for 22. Duke shot well. Duke was 7 of 17. Take that all day long. 50% in the second half, 4 out of 8. But Duke's defense wasn't very good, and I thought they lost their poise in terms of just not giving in to the moment. That's what I thought happened. I thought Duke gave in to the moment during the game. All right. This is something I will talk about with Mike DeCourcy in a little bit more than an hour when he joins us around 2:30 later on. Peter Burns from ESPN does most of his on-air work for the SEC network on the conference not helping out their best team.
The ACC had one of the most horrific regular seasons that we had seen. Okay, when only a couple teams made the tournament, and Duke was the only one that really was good all season long. The fact that Duke at some point would beat Virginia Tech by 30, beat SMU by 30, beat Pitt by 30, beat Notre Dame handily. They absolutely crushed Miami, absolutely crushed NC State, crushed North Carolina, crushed Syracuse. Were they ready for that? Were they ready for that moment? When you had young guys, when was the last time that Duke had fully been pressed? It hadn't been in the tournament. And this is a situation in which, yes, you did have your contender, but when it came down to it, were they battle-tested? They weren't.
I mean, it's hard to find a lie there, right? Not enough games. And conference games, which are supposed to be more difficult because familiarity, rivalry, right? You know you're playing on opposing teams' floors. So many of the non-conference games are neutral site games. Duke, Kentucky, Duke, Kansas were neutral site games. Duke did have a road win at Arizona and played very well in a game that ultimately they were much better than the Wildcats. There were some injury issues, but both teams were, new into the season. But dude, that was a gutty win for Duke. Illinois at Madison Square Garden was a blowout. So Duke had not been under fire. The 4 games that they were this year, 5 games that they were, 6, we'll call 6. They went 2-4. 2 of them were Carolina and NC State, and they should have lost that Carolina game. And the other 3 they lost. The Arizona game they won, but the other 3 they lost. Clemson, Kentucky, and Kansas. Talk about Mike DeCourcy a little bit later on. All right, to the women's national championship game last night. I want to bring this up simply because I think people need to hear Gino Auriemma's resume. But anyway, the 12th national championship for Auriemma and the UConn Huskies.
I do think that each championship is a building block, and the legacy is all those blocks placed on top of each other. And I don't know that the bottom one holds everything up, but the first one, I don't think any other one means more to the legacy. Maybe what this one means is that there were a lot of people that didn't think it would ever happen. There were a lot of people that hoped it would never happen. I'm glad that we were able to get to that spot that Connecticut has occupied. And not that we had to win a championship, but in the last 30 years, I don't know that any program's meant more to their sport than what UConn has meant to women's basketball. So I feel good about that.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with him. They have been the gold standard literally for 30 years. 1995 was Auriemma's first title. He's never coached anywhere but UConn as a head coach. He was an assistant to Debbie Ryan at Virginia for like 6 years prior. But the first title in 95, 30 years later, just won his 12th. They have won, I think the max was 3 in a row. 02 through 04. No, won 4 in a row. 13 through 16. They had like 3 years of not losing. I mean, it's just stupid, right? Here's his record. His record at Connecticut. 1,250 wins, 165 losses. That is an .883 winning percentage. Hold on, I'm going to make it sound better.
Wow.
I'm going to make it sound better. His first 3 years, they were 43-39. He's got a .902 winning percentage after his first 3 years. In conference play, which theoretically should be more difficult, right? 608 and 64 all time. That's a .904 winning percentage. But kick out the first 3 years where he was 22 and 26 as he's building the program from nothing. .939 winning percentage in conference play. He won 27 conference tournaments. 27.
Oh, that's all.
Conference tournaments, 28 regular season titles.
Wow.
3 Olympic golds, 2 world championships. I mean, it's the greatest coaching resume ever. Don't care what the sport is. Nobody's ever had a better coaching resume than that. And there are people that don't like him. Partly is because nobody thought we'd ever do this. I'm sure somebody once said that to Gino. But regardless, holy cow, what a legacy. And it's still going. He still gets the best players. Quick story, not a story, but just something I saw. The late Kobe Bryant and his daughter, right, Gigi, they were at a game, I don't know how many years ago now, but Reggie Miller was doing the game for TNT. And Miller went to UCLA. His sister, Cheryl Miller, went to USC. And she's arguably the greatest women's player of all time. And Reggie was trying to get Kobe to have his daughter consider going to UCLA. And Kobe was like, yeah, I'd love her to stay close to home, but she is only going to UConn. UConn created not only great players, but tough players. Best women's player I ever saw was Diana Taurasi. There's no second place there. And tough, hard-nosed players. Paige Becker's the same way. Anyway, congratulations to UConn women. Just an incredible, incredible run. And they blew out. That game was not even a contest. My gosh. I was trying to stay interested in that game in the third quarter.
They just weren't. The other team just wasn't helping.
UConn was just so much better than South Carolina. How were they the 2 seed? What the heck? Anyway. All right. When we come back, today, not only is it the national championship game tonight, but right now, there is a hearing going on in San Francisco where the House versus the NCAA settlement is being, final arguments are being heard regarding it. Judge Claudia Wilkin will likely approve the settlement, which will pave the way for revenue sharing and direct payments from schools to players. But there are going to be arguments that she shouldn't approve it. We're going to talk to Amanda Christovich from Front Office Sports about the issues and the NCAA tournament as well. Next.
From the heels.
Touchdown, Carolina.
To the canes.
She scores!
He covers it all. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
We're in the middle of the madness.
Knipples open. Good again.
From the first 4 to the national championship.
Now Cooper across midcourt. On the drive, takes it inside and throws it down with 2 hands.
All the hoops action will be heard here.
It's been a special ride that ended in a heartbreaking way.
The road to San Antonio is driven by Fox and Bailey Watch Shop, Fairway Green, and First Horizon Bank. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports leader.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that. And third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
Organize easy. Organize tough. Customize your work truck or van with upfit solutions from Van Products. Steel and aluminum shelving, toolboxes, data files, cabinets, drawers, conduit carriers, ladder racks, everything safe and secure. Everything built as unbreakable as you by Adrian Steel. Backed by the best warranty in the business. 3 years, 36,000 miles. Everything custom installed by Van Products so you know it's done right. From a single work rig to a fleet, choose custom installed upfit solutions from Van Products.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friends at FanDuel FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And here it is, the national championship game in college basketball from the best place to have the basketball tournament, San Antonio, and you can enjoy it on the best sports betting app on planet Earth. It is FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, and new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So choose wisely, pick something easy, win, and then get $200 of their money. FanDuel.com/Adam Gold, FanDuel.com/Adam Gold, the biggest game, the biggest stage in basketball. FanDuel. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Hey girl, haven't seen you downtown lately.
Nope, sticking to our go-to places.
You mean like Sharky's?
Well, we love our Sharkies. Best wings and gumbo on the planet. But we never miss the $5 sangrias on Wednesdays at the new Salt and Lime and Mexican pints on Thursdays for $3.
You know my boy loves the House of Hops. No better selection of craft beer in the state. Loves their specials, their food trucks, and you know I love my wine. They have a wonderful selection.
And have I told you about our new takeout spot, Che Empanadas? It's right next to Sharky's. They have 20 different types of authentic Argentinian empanadas, and they are incredible, especially the breakfast ones. You gotta try it.
Sounds perfect. And how awesome is it that they're so close to each other?
Yes.
Give them a try. Che Empanadas, House of Hops, Salt and Lime, and Sharky's. Just a hop, skip, and a jump from each other off Raleigh Road, Glenwood, and Grove Barton.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
This is Adam Gold.
80-second mark, I scream in the booth. I screamed in the booth. Why the heck is he still on the ice?
Did you say it in Finnish?
I should have.
Yes.
No, he wouldn't. He curses in English.
He does.
All right, 2 seconds later, he scored.
Yes.
And I went, oh, that's why. That's what.
The Adam Gold Show.
Amanda Christovich from Front Office Sports Business Reporter is on hand in San Antonio on Twitter at Amanda Christovich with an extra H, which I believe stands for, hey, I'm just trying to drink a glass of wine and these bands keep rolling through on Riverwalk. Every single person we have talked with who is in San Antonio, I always start with, that's my favorite Final Four city. Is this your first experience there, and why do you think it should always be in San Antonio?
Okay, so here's my lowdown. I have never been to San Antonio. It has been very fun.
Yeah.
The Riverwalk definitely kind of feels like the Pirates of the Caribbean Disneyland ride.
Yep.
But it has been like very fun, very walkable as a New Yorker. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you are referring to a tweet where yesterday I was on a balcony enjoying a glass of wine and dinner with my friend who's in town. Actually, she's a Gators fan. So if there was anyone who was more annoyed by the Houston Cougars band rolling down the river, playing, as loud as they possibly could below us, it was her.
Yeah, I bet.
It's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, look, I've been to San Antonio for, 3 Final Fours. They shouldn't go. That and Indianapolis would be fine with me. All right, let's get to, we have House versus the NCAA, which is a noon start, and it will go throughout the day. And I know this is you've been on this story for, well, probably more than a year, but it's been ongoing. This movement has been ongoing for a while. And do you think that Judge Wilkins is going to rubber stamp an approval here? I know there's hearings and there's going to be some objections to the deal, to the settlement. What do you think Judge Wilkins is going to do, if it's even wise to predict what a judge is going to do in any situation?
Well, with Judge Wilkin, you kind of never know, because she, she has a mind of her own, in the sense that she's not concerned at this point about, making the lives of everyone in the college sports industry more difficult.
Right.
So let's just start with that, which is, evidenced by the fact that she set this very important hearing for the day of the men's national championship.
She's obviously not a Gator, a Cougar, an Auburn Tiger, or a Duke Blue Devil.
No, she's just not a basketball person,
Right.
Because this hearing was set like 4 months ago,
Right.
and we were all like, oh boy, here we go. So she's not going to rule today, most likely. So I just want to start with that.
Right.
It doesn't seem like we're going to get any sort of bench ruling. But, I do see a good argument for her approving the settlement, because the objections that are being raised today are about roster limit issues, gender equity, antitrust concerns, and none of those issues seem to move her to the point of not approving the preliminary, version of the settlement. So I'm not really sure what would have changed. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not sure what I personally think, but I cautiously believe that she will approve the settlement at some point in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think for her to not approve this, because she actually already sent it back. She already said, nah, I don't like the other one. Bring me a better one. They brought her a better one, and now this is what the hearing is over. And to me, having read a ton of stuff about this, much of which you've written, it's basically don't let good be the enemy of perfect here. And
exactly.
So we're talking about the fringes, and not that the fringes aren't important, but there's just no possible way you're going to be able to satisfy everything. Do you? And I know you're not a lawyer, and we're going to talk to a lawyer tomorrow about this. But is there a sense that the lawsuits aren't going to stop, regardless of how she rules?
I think the lawsuits aren't going to stop about other issues.
Right.
So the athlete employment question is not being addressed here. Transfer portal eligibility not being addressed here. Athletes seeking damages who played during or before 2016, which is when the damages for NIL start here. There have been a flood of lawsuits that older players have filed against the NCAA. Those are going to continue because this lawsuit doesn't address those.
Right.
So I think that all of these other issues, and then I think there's going to be a lawsuit for whatever NIL collective gets a deal rejected through the clearinghouse that is being put together, right? So no, I don't think the lawsuits are going to end. One thing I did want to note, though, which I'm sure the lawyers will speak to more eloquently than I can, is like, I think none of the objections being raised are unreasonable. I think what folks are getting confused about, though, is like, this is a settlement to settle a lawsuit. It is not a collective bargaining agreement. It's not a referendum on the future of college sports. That's not the job of the judge here, and it's not the job of the lawyers either. It's to settle an antitrust litigation problem. So even though these objections might be, fair and true, they're just outside the scope of settling these three lawsuits. So I think that's important to note as we watch how Judge Wilkin approaches the settlement and the objections themselves.
Amanda Christovich is here on the Adam Gold Show, Front Office Sports. You can read her stuff online. You can read her stuff at Front Office Sports. You can get the newsletter, as I do. Amanda Christovich with an extra H at the end of it. Or it's an A Christovich. I said Amanda. It's A Christovich with an H at the end of it. I want to move on to another issue, but I do think you said something in terms of antitrust. With a salary cap in this settlement, and the lawyer, when we speak to lawyers tomorrow about this, I'm sure they will say nothing that happens today is going to prevent an antitrust lawsuit for artificially capping what athletes can earn, because it's not being collectively bargained. here, and that will be an issue, but that'll be a story for us maybe tomorrow. You're at the men's Final Four.
I am, yes.
Right. The women crowned a champion last night, half a country away. And first of all, I know you would rather be in both places, right? It would be great.
I would rather be in both places, but unfortunately I can't clone myself.
Right. I totally understand. And I think Christine Brennan, a friend of mine who works in Washington, D.C. and a columnist for the USA Today, in other years has gone back and forth, and then went to the Masters the following week when it was all over. Frequent flyer miles galore.
Yes.
Is there a movement? I know there's been some talk about combining the two Final Fours. I don't think that's good for the women, to be honest. I know the men have like, hey, that would be cool. Yeah, it would be cool because, you're not going to get swallowed up by it. Should the women have a separate weekend? Should it be before or should it be after? What would be better?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that is a very good question. Obviously, the NCAA has totally refused to even try combining the Final Fours. There certainly is a lot of, good arguments for not doing so. There are good arguments for doing so. But yeah, I mean, look, it just can't continue like this because from the perspective of someone reporting on the men's championship, I was sitting in press conferences when the women's national championship started, right? So I guess maybe if you're a fan and the weekend every day, you get all these games and it's super fun. That's one thing. But, from an industry perspective, from a coverage perspective, having them at the same time in different places is just a really, in my opinion, it's a missed opportunity because also all the industry folks are at the men's.
Right.
So
Charlie Baker's at the men's Final Four. He's not. He wasn't at the women's, right? Or maybe he went to the women's.
So Charlie went back and forth.
Yeah.
Big East Commissioner Val Ackerman always goes back and forth, but obviously, so I saw her on Saturday night at the men's Final Four, and then she said, I'm hopping on a plane and going back to Tampa to watch UConn win the national championship, which they did. Greg Sankey, same thing. He flew Southwest Airlines back and forth.
Greg Sankey don't have a private plane?
That's what I said. I couldn't believe it, and I'm sure he does have. There's a charter.
Sure.
I guess if he can fly direct, he just takes Southwest. That's
good
the
for him.
SEC's line. But yeah, I mean, good for him. He's going back and forth. He'll be back here tonight.
I think he's in Group 1. You think Group A was it Group A? You think Greg Sankey's in Group A?
I would hope so, honestly, because he tweeted a picture of his seat on Southwest, and I got to tell you, it did not look like it was first class. So, I don't know. It's certainly a decision. You know what? I appreciate that.
Sure,
I appreciate that.
Regular
man situation. But no, there's really not even a movement to move the women's championship to a different weekend, even though proponents of combining the Final Fours have even suggested that.
Yeah.
And I do think that, the women's tournament has gotten too big to be at the same time as the men's. And flying back and forth, look, it's just from a media perspective, like we can't afford that, right? Like, let's just be honest. It's not even about the logistics aside. It's just like not financially tenable in the struggling journalism industry.
No question.
So they got to do something.
Yeah, they do, and I don't think they're doing the women's tournament any justice. Television ratings for the women's tournament were down from last year, but that was to be expected.
Right.
But they're up from the previous year. So the sport is on a continuously growing trajectory.
Right.
They probably, and both head coaches last night agreed that they should separate this event out from all other NCAA tournament events or NCAA championship events and sell it to, a single bidder or maybe multiple bidders, but sell it as a separate entity as they sell the men's event. And what Dawn Staley said, to find out what the true worth is, I would be fascinated because I think women's basketball, especially women's college basketball, is super undervalued.
I would agree with that. At the beginning of the women's tournament, I spoke with the folks who did the media valuation for the gender equity report in 2021, if you remember that. And they said, look, we valued the women's tournament at $80 to $112 million alone. And that was in 2021 before, the Caitlin Clark explosion, right? They still believe that the women's tournament is undervalued, even with this current TV deal that values it at $65 million, which is way more than like the full 30 plus championship deal was before. It's a step in the right direction, but they still said, hey, we really think that the women could have gotten more than $65 million. The one interesting caveat to that, though, is I remember NCAA President Charlie Baker saying, look, my job is to do what is best for the entire NCAA. And we thought the deal we struck for all these 40 championships was the best for everybody, in addition to women's basketball. On the one hand, that makes sense.
Sure.
On the other hand, they have no problem, telling everyone to wait their turn when they negotiate the men's deal. They're not concerned with any other sport when they negotiate the men's deal. So, look, we're locked in until 2032 for this deal, and we'll have to see what happens then. There isn't going to be an opportunity for a renegotiation. That's just not how it works. The contracts are signed. It's all done and dusted for the next 6 years. So, this is what we have until then.
I would call that a missed opportunity at revenue for the NCAA, for real. Amanda Christovich, A Christovich with an extra H on Twitter. Enjoy the men's championship tonight. We saw history last night or yesterday afternoon, I guess. It was still light out. I don't even know what time of day it is anymore when it's light out. But Connecticut's 12th title, Gino Auriemma's resume is beyond anything I have ever seen in coaching, especially in the era of competition, because he has had to deal with real competition in the women's game as opposed to, like, say, Anson Dorrance with women's soccer or even the early stages of Pat Summitt at Tennessee. And Amanda Christovich, I thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the game tonight, and we will be reading you and talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
By the way, Amanda is currently live tweeting the House versus the NCAA hearing, and Judge Wilkin did say right out of the chute that she will almost certainly not be issuing a ruling today, an approval today. We will get that approval likely tomorrow, but it is expected that she will approve the ruling, and then the real fun begins. And we will talk things over with an attorney tomorrow with an expertise in this particular issue. Anyway, we're going to break. When we come back, we'll stretch. We'll place bets, maybe something on tonight's game, maybe a hockey game tonight. We have the Rangers and the Lightning to look at, and we have maybe some Masters picks coming up. Next.
Questioning goalie interference calls since day one. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
It's okay not to be okay. Feelings of loneliness, anger, and worry are completely normal, and you're not alone. If you need help coping, call, text, or chat the free 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Someone is always there to talk, day or night. Together, we will find the care that works for you. Just call, text, or chat 988 anytime to talk to a trained counselor who will listen, provide support, and connect you to other resources that can help. Let's get through it together. Brought to you by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting NCADFP.org.
This April, join North Carolina Realtors in celebrating Fair Housing Month. Fair housing means everyone deserves a place to call home, regardless of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, or disability. NC Realtors are committed to fair housing for all North Carolinians and ensuring that everyone has access to safe and affordable housing. Let's work together to create communities where everyone can thrive. Visit ncrealtors.org to learn more about fair housing. Paid for by NC Realtors.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is looking for people age 21 or older to volunteer in long-term care facilities. Community Advisory Committee volunteers help residents and their families advocate for the needs of individuals living in long-term care facilities, such as nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and family care homes. Volunteers must complete orientation and training to become designated and certified representatives of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Visit ncdhhs.gov/aging to find your county's ombudsman.
Do you know someone who's lost a loved one to overdose? Every day, the disease of addiction is taking lives and devastating families. But this crisis is preventable. Join the Governor's Institute in the Be a Superhero in the Overdose Battle campaign. Together, we can spread awareness, fight stigma, and save lives. Learn the signs of overdose. Know how to help. Visit governorsinstitute.org/superhero today, because doing nothing shouldn't be an option. Be a hero. Take action. Save a life.
The Body Armor State Games are coming to Greensboro this June. Registration is open to athletes of all ages and skill levels in 20 different sports. The Body Armor State Games feature 11,000 athletes and 600 teams. Don't miss out on North Carolina's largest sports festival of the year. Visit bodyarmorstategames.org today. That's bodyarmorstategames.org. The Body Armor State Games are proud to partner with Truist, Lowe's Foods, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina.
Did you know that since you have public power, your electricity is operated and controlled by people in your community, not by a for-profit, investor-owned company? These local folks are directly accountable to you. They don't answer to shareholders. They make decisions for the good of your community. What's more, your public power provider invests in your community, providing jobs and supporting your local economy. Local people working together to meet local needs. That's public power. Learn more at electricities.com.
Are you living your best life? Do you know AARP North Carolina is working to make communities great for all ages? Help workers find easier ways to save, improve healthcare quality and access, and to protect important programs like Social Security and Medicare. Learn more about all that AARP is doing to help people of all ages by listening to AARP Without Limits. You can find the latest episodes of AARP Without Limits wherever you listen to your podcasts.
This is Adam Gold.
We had lightning hit a pretty large tree.
Oh, yeah.
About 150 yards from the house. It'll be my sign to go win the lottery. But you know what? I'm sorry, I can't. I have rules. If it's not over $1 billion, I'm not playing.
Yeah, still just millions.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. We're going to place bets in a minute. Readying a couple of Masters long shots for you. Before we get to that, and we are going to stretch, I have long been a proponent of baseball's current economic system. I think it does need tweaking. I think we could use a little bit more revenue sharing, but more than anything else, we could use a fire lit under the teams that are clearly not competing, not even trying. And I've often pointed the finger at the Pittsburgh Pirates for various reasons. So the Pirates they've been around a long time. And it's a great historical Major League Baseball franchise with one of the all-time great players who's ever played, Roberto Clemente. And on their in their new ballpark, it's been around for a while now, but gorgeous ballpark, PNC Park in Pittsburgh. The right field wall where Clemente played at the old Forbes Field, and then I think early in the Three River Stadium era, the right field wall is 21 feet high because that's the number that Roberto Clemente wore. And by the way, Clemente passed away on a humanitarian mission to bring supplies to victims of an earthquake in Nicaragua. I believe he was Puerto Rican, Clemente. Anyway, legendary player, beloved in the city. His number 21 was emblazoned on the outfield wall as well. So the Pirates announced earlier in the week that they didn't announce it, they just did it. They took the number 21 off the wall in right field and slapped the logo of a company on it, thinking that nobody would notice.
Wow.
Wait a second.
Of course.
Some organizations actively sabotage themselves. The Pirates are that organization. They have since capitulated. The corporate logo is staying, but the number 21 has been put back on the outfield wall. I don't know where. My gosh. It just doesn't get dumber than the Pirates. Sorry, Pittsburgh fans. All right, let's stretch.
Okay, so today is National Beer Day. So if you're a beer drinker fan, then good news if you're in North Carolina, because it's one of the cheapest places to get it, in the top 10 at least. But
we have great craft beer, too.
Yes, I know.
We have great craft beer.
We do. But we are not the cheapest. So looking at Visual Capitalist did a recent crunching of some numbers, and they say that the average prices for a 24-pack across the country they've kind of got it around $16.43.
A 24-pack?
Is the cheapest.
I can promise you I don't think there's a beer I would buy that is sold in a 24-pack.
Well,
I'm a snob. Because I can't drink more than 2 anyway.
Right. Oh, yeah, so it'd last you forever. A 24-pack would be a year's supply.
The beer that we have in our fridge in the garage, I probably should just toss it.
Right. It's
There's a lot of beer.
Shelf life.
There's a lot of beer in the fridge. I haven't had a beer in it's been a bit. Been a minute.
If you want the cheapest cube, you can get it in Illinois for $16.43. Now, the second cheapest, you don't have to go quite as far, South Carolina. Why am I not surprised? But we're number 7, North Carolina.
You can also get boxed wine in South Carolina really cheap, I'm told.
Yeah, you could get that lots of places.
Yep.
So, however, if you want the most expensive, you got to go to Alaska, which I'm not surprised because it probably takes a lot of effort to get stuff out to Alaska.
What is the local beer in Alaska? I'd be curious to know that.
I don't know. Wonder if their mascot, whatever it is like a polar bear.
Whales.
Or an Eskimo.
Yeah, could be. Polar bear ale.
Igloo.
I don't know.
Igloo beer. I don't know. So that's the most expensive, followed by Wyoming. I don't know. It's so random. And then Hawaii. I feel like Hawaii and Alaska it's given, but I don't. Who knows? But maybe we can make some good bets and win some better beer.
Place your bets. Here we are. I bet you slice into the woods $100.
Gambling is illegal at Bushwood, sir, and I never slide.
Okay, you can owe me. I owe you one.
All right, let's take some swings here.
We'll try.
I really wanted a live bet, the Duke-Houston game. I thought about it, but I was caught up in the moment just like Duke was.
Yeah, see, I was caught up in it too because I took Duke in the over, which I think they eventually got the over, but wrong team. So
yeah, it's pretty close. Just went over.
No, it was down to the wire. But tonight, I will have one basketball bet, so I'll do that first. I'm going to go with Houston because they just seem to come back from the dead, so I feel like this could happen again. Give me Houston. I will take the under because it's a little higher than last time. It's at 140.5, so those two together is plus 260.
All right, I'll go the other way. I'll go Florida in the over. Plus 228 for Florida in the over. But I think I don't know, are Duke fans rooting for Houston? It's always better to lose to the team that won it all.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
It stinks either way.
I don't know that Duke fans are going to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would.
I don't think so either. Going to the ice, though, St. Louis Blues are going to be in Winnipeg taking on the Jets. The Jets are trying to keep winning their conference, which they've still got a handsome lead. So I'm going to go with the Jets at home, and I'll take the under 5.5. That's plus 180.
All right, I'm not doing this game, but I would go the opposite way. Both St. Louis is absolutely on fire. Winnipeg needs the win, though. They're only 3 points ahead of Dallas. Dallas ain't playing great either right now, but Winnipeg needs the win. Rangers are home to the Lightning tonight. New York desperately trying to maintain touch with the playoff pack. Look, the Rangers are going to get eliminated. They're going to run out of runway. But I think they're going to keep it alive tonight. Give me the Rangers and the under 5.5 against the Lightning at Madison Square Garden to plus 319.
And my last one on the ice, St. Louis, Seattle Kraken are going to be in Los Angeles taking on the Kings, who are turning it on.
Yep.
So give me the Kings to win. I'm going over 5.5. That's plus 145.
All right, I got two Masters long shots for you. Russell Henley, plus 5,000. He could win it. I certainly like Russell Henley like a first-round leader. Sung Jae Im should be good if he can hit because he's a great iron player. Sung Jae Im is plus 11,000. Talk about something.
Talking sports, so you don't have to pretend to know stuff. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Doesn't the North Carolina Education Lottery Winners Club give the best massages?
I've never felt so relaxed.
Thanks to this month's scratch-offs, this is our life now.
It's like winning again and again and again.
This month's scratch-offs pack over $150 million in total prizes. The Winners Club awaits. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning range from 1 to 3.8 to 9.88. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
Lowe's knows that your deadlines don't change, even when your job does. But with Lowe's Buy Online, Pick Up in Store, we'll help you adjust on the fly. And when you absolutely can't leave the project, we can deliver to your job site as soon as same day. Lowe's knows pros. We help, you save. Valid on eligible in-stock orders and select zip codes placed by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. More terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, wondering how you got so behind? Hey, I'm Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. I get it. Life is expensive now. Insurance, groceries, cars. And then there's the credit card debt with those obscene interest rates. It's time to regain your financial freedom. And that's what we offer at Loan Pronto, using the power of the equity in your home. We have multiple ways to get you the cash you need, and most clients close in 2 weeks or less, and many don't even require an appraisal. And listen, rates have been plummeting recently. We just locked a homeowner in with an APR in the low fives, saving her over $1,000 per month, and put $10,000 in her pocket. Life-changing money. Whether you're drowning in debt, have a nosebleed rate you got last year, need home improvements, or simply need cash in your pocket, we can help you accomplish this goal in record time. Call us today and get started with no hard credit pull, just a conversation. LoanPronto.com, 919-381-1760. LoanPronto.com. That's LoanPronto.com.
Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Hello, Scott Forbes, head baseball coach, University of North Carolina. When it comes to choosing a dealership, I stick with Wilkinson, Chevrolet, Cadillac, Buick, GMC. Growing up in Sanford, I've been fortunate to be lifelong friends with Will Wilkinson. My family and I have been buying and having our vehicles serviced at Wilkinson for many, many years. Great service, competitive prices, and most importantly, a place you can trust. Go where I go. Go see my longtime friend Will Wilkinson at Wilkinson, Chevrolet, Cadillac, Buick, GMC.
At Atlantic Spas and Billiards, we have been setting the standard in wellness and leisure since 1987. We offer family-sized and saltwater hot tubs for as low as $79.95 and try out our free-flow plug-and-play spas starting at $42.95. Explore endless pool swim spas, Finleo saunas, hot tubs, cold plunges, indoor and outdoor game tables, grills, and more. Atlantic Spas and Billiards is family-owned with local service. We service what we sell. Come by our store on Glenwood Avenue in Raleigh today and experience wellness, relaxation, and fun.
The next disaster is coming. Make a plan. Keep extra medication on hand. Make copies of important documents. Stay informed and be ready. Learn more at americares.org/send-us-in.
Progressive Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Psst, honey. Honey! What? Shh, there's a salesman walking up the driveway.
Oh no, he's got a clipboard.
What do we do?
Get down.
Down?
On the floor, you...
Shh. Shoot, did he see us? Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy, but with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
I'm attorney Brian Ritchie. Getting hurt in a car wreck comes with all kinds of stress and frustration. But when you call me, I'll be on top of all of it. So all you need to worry about is getting better. If you've been injured in a car wreck, I'm on top of it. Contact us at ritchielaw.com.
Broadcasting live from the Lenovo Studios. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. 99.9 The Fan. The Triangle Sports Leader.
They knock off Louisville 73-62, the final score. Gritty, tough, they get it done. The ultimate team, and they are the ACC champs. Another dominant defensive effort and a 20-point win here in Newark. And for the Blue Devils, the Final Four is calling yet again on to San Antonio.
It's been a special ride that ended in a heartbreaking way.
That it did. It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Victoria's on the ones and twos. There's a lot going on. Duke failed to advance to the national championship game. In and of itself, the way the game played out, very disappointing, crushing, and a failure Saturday night. Season in total. I'm sorry, if you think this year was a failure, that is a hot take I am not willing to go with. But I certainly think Saturday night was a failure. We'll get to that. It is also, we got the final 10 days of the Hurricanes NHL season as everybody is jockeying for position, although Carolina's position is pretty much locked in for the playoffs. It's going to be Carolina and New Jersey. Canes' magic number is just 3 to sew up home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs with New Jersey. But there's a lot going on across the league and teams still trying to solidify their spots. We're pretty close, I think, in terms of practical, I think we know the teams that are going to be in. Now we're just trying to figure out who's playing well and whatnot. There's still a few teams on the outside that have a reasonable but probably an unlikely chance. So we'll get to that as well this hour. And it's Masters Week. That's right. The best part about the Final Four is that when it's over, holy cow, it's the Masters, azaleas and all of that. Scott Michaux from the Irish Examiner is going to join us. He's been going to the Masters for like 40 years. He's going to join us in our next segment. That next segment's going to come up relatively quickly. So Scott Michaux is going to join us in just a few minutes. All right. I just do want to spend a couple of minutes here, especially to our friends in Charlotte. The way Duke lost is alarming. It is disappointing for Duke fans because they had the game. And I would argue that Duke had the game on a number of occasions. Duke should have been ahead by more than the 6 they were at halftime. They didn't play well the last 2 minutes of the first half, allowing 3 threes after having a 12-point lead with 2:07 to go. That's just bad. They were poor defensively. I thought there were moments during the build-up to their ultimate 14-point lead with about 11 minutes to play that they could have stretched that lead out. But turnover, missed shot, the inability to secure defensive rebounds. And I said before the game that this was the area that I was the most concerned about. Houston is a great offensive rebounding team. We had seen teams, Arizona did a good job. Alabama early on in that game did a good job. Carolina at times did a good job against Duke on the offensive glass. And that was the area that I was most concerned about. And I'm not sure how you prepare for it because it's hard to prepare for Houston's defense or Houston's aggression going to the offensive glass. But ultimately, as Duke was giving up that lead in the second half, the Cougars had 10 second second chance points, and I believe 8 of their 18 offensive rebounds came in the last 10 minutes of the game. You can't overcome that unless you've got a 30-point lead, which Duke didn't have. And the little details defensively definitely got to Duke, and then they completely fell apart in the last few minutes of the game. 7-point lead with the ball. Proctor turnover. They kept putting Houston at the free throw line. Brown committed a foul. It's a questionable call, but he committed a foul. Malawa committed a foul. Again, Houston's going to the free throw line, scoring with the clock stopped. Can't get the ball inbounds. Have to call a timeout. By the way, Houston even helped them out with a dead ball technical on the inbounds pass attempt that allowed Con Knipple to go to the free throw line and make one. Then there was the turnover by Sion. Also, I mentioned before the Proctor turnover. Proctor missed the front end of a 1-on-1, and then Cooper Flagg took a good shot, but not that good a shot when you consider he was fading away from the basket. And we'll talk about this with Mike DeCourcy at the bottom of the hour. If you want to call Saturday night a failure, I am on board with that. You can argue that Duke lost that game every bit as much as Houston won it. Don't ignore the fact that Houston has been in this position before. But Duke's season as a whole, with an ACC championship, double-barreled, and a Final Four, man, and they didn't lose to a bad team. They lost to a championship caliber team. I'm sorry, I'm not on board with it being a failure of a season. Failure of a game, failure of the moment, yes, but not a failure of a season. All right, the Masters starts Thursday. Practice rounds through weather began today at Augusta National. Scott Michaux, former Augusta Chronicle, Irish Examiner, Global Golf Post, joins us next.
Chapel Hill to Charlotte, Greenville to Greensboro. Your sports, his state. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
We're in the middle of the madness.
Follow watch! Dunk that thing down!
From the First Four to the national championship.
Cooper delivers the lead back to 9!
All the hoops action will be heard here.
What they've done at 18 and 19 years old, I couldn't fathom doing. Just incredible.
The road to San Antonio is driven by WakeMed, Roofworks, Metro Elevator, and Wilkinson Chevrolet Cadillac Buick GMC in Sanford. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friend Gordon Miller. Miller Lending, Kildare Farm Road in Cary, home of the original no closing cost mortgage. The only thing worse than going to a national championship game in college basketball and the team you have followed all year isn't there is paying closing costs, because that is an unnecessary outlay of cash that you would otherwise rather put towards something else, like a vacation, like the kids' college fund. Doesn't matter. It's your money. You should be able to do with it what you want. And paying closing cost is also wholly unnecessary. All it does is lower your payment by about $50 a month. So you'd have to pay about $5,000 to save $50 a month. Does that make any sense to you? No. Miller Lending on Kildare Farm Road in Cary, home of the original no closing cost mortgage. That's right, the original no closing cost mortgage. Miller Lending is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 250-2146.
Need CPAP supplies fast? I'm Brandon Giggling, president of Parkway Sleep Health Centers, and we are the Triangle's top sleep provider, offering quick access to the equipment you need for better sleep. Get the right supplies right when you need them. With over 20 years of experience, our expert team is here to help you sleep better, sooner.
Discover why so many trust Parkway Sleep Health Centers for better sleep. Visit parkwaysleep.com now and start your journey to a healthier night's sleep. Parkway Sleep Health Centers. Sound sleep. Sound health.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
So, you found the one and want to get married? Next step, you need the ring. And not just any ring, the perfect engagement sparkle that exemplifies your love. Bailey's Fine Jewelry is here to help. Our diamond experts, wide selection of high-quality diamonds, and financing make saying I do easy. We guarantee you'll love the ring or your money back. You're invited to see why Bailey's has been voted best place to buy your diamonds. Visit us today in-store or at baileybox.com to find out more.
It's a big week in golf. Global Golf has everything you need to get ready for your next round. Browse all the top brands like Callaway, TaylorMade, Mizuno, Ping, and Titleist, plus expert help from our team of PGA Golf professionals for lessons and fittings. Global Golf has you covered with Carolina's largest selection of pre-owned clubs and the easiest way to trade in your current golf clubs. Visit Global Golf today and get ready to play. Located on 7320 ACC Boulevard, North Raleigh. Global Golf, home of the best deals in golf.
Dennis Cox here for my friends over at Law Tigers. It's that time of year, folks, back on the open road, taking a cruise on the motorcycle, but there's always that risk when you're on the bike. That's why you got to contact Law Tigers at 1-800-LAW-TIGERS if you're injured in a motorcycle accident, even before you contact your insurance company. Insurance companies pay the least amount possible. Law Tigers, they're riders too. They know what your bike and your gear are worth and what you're going through after an accident. 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. Law Tigers is a network of independent law firms who are members of the American Association of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers. Law Tigers is not a law firm.
This is Adam Gold.
Did you see what Duke is paying the quarterback that they pulled out of the portal from Tulane?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. 2-year deal, $4 million per.
Oh, wow.
Per. So.
Do they want a quarterback named Victoria?
The Adam Gold Show.
The Monday of Masters Week, we got to get the lowdown not only on the golf but on the menu. There are returning items, just like Angel Cabrera is a returning past champion, although I don't even know why I equated the two. Scott Michaux, Irish Examiner, Global Golf Post. I got tongue-tied just at the fact that I just mentioned Angel Cabrera being back. I mean, he is a past champion, so we'll just leave it there. What item on the menu is back? We'll get to golf, then we'll get back to food.
So you want to know menu before golf?
No, we're going to get back to food. Priority. I just need to know what item, what food menu is back. Food item is back on the menu.
Well, what is back, as in it's back, baby, is the classic chicken sandwich, which has been in the wilderness for 2 decades as a dry plank of chicken after they changed the original recipe inexplicably at some point. And I expected to have the same experience yesterday when I bit into one, and I was transported back to the early aughts when the classic chicken was the go-to all week. It's moister, it's tastier, it's heaven, and I'm just I'm having one as we speak.
So it's as though they moved the tee back to its original spot on 15.
Exactly, and there's no second cut anymore.
All right, let's get to we'll get back to the menu items in a minute because I have to know about desserts too. Scott Michaux, Irish Examiner, Global Golf Post is here with us. Masters Week. About 2 months ago, I think Rory was about 12-1, maybe 10-1. He's now 6.5-1. Now, that's what a Players' Championship, Pebble Beach, and I think even maybe not more telling, but the way he closed in Houston after even par in the first round, just basically saying, I'm just getting ready for Augusta. What are your thoughts on the Rory McIlroy experience down there?
Well, I'm like everyone else. I'm ever hopeful that this might finally be the year. It's a place. It's got scar tissue for him, so he's got to still deal with that, and he's got to get over that. But his game is ready. I mean, it's there. And what's even better for him is not everyone else's game is there right now. So it seems like things are lined up for him to finally break through here and get it done. But he's now still dealing with basically 11 years of not winning any majors and a couple of really painful experiences, not only on, Augusta National in the past, but on other stages in the last couple of years. So all of those things still will matter, especially on Sunday. But it's all there. He's got the pieces. He just has to put it together.
So are you saying that if he has like a 2.5-foot putt on the 16th hole on Sunday to maintain the 2-shot lead, that we should start worrying? You know, it's funny. I watched the Full Swing, the episode in Full Swing on Netflix, where it was around the U.S. Open. And I lived through that pain with him for the second time. I didn't like it any better than I liked it the first time.
Well, let's hope that 2.5-foot putt is going up the hill from the pond and not down the hill towards it, because that would be a lot more tricky.
Scott Michaux, Irish Examiner, Global Golf Post, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. So Scottie Scheffler hasn't won yet. This is the opposite of what we've seen in years past, where Scottie has done a lot of damage before we even get to April. It was famously said that, like, last year was the first time he won tournaments after April, right? But he hadn't won, and he's been kind of frustrated with his game. Where do you think he is right now?
Well, he's obviously starting to put it together in time. I mean, he looked pretty good on Sunday last week in Texas. And so, it's not far away, but it's not where it was a year ago. And that's why I think it's just helpful for Rory, because Scottie still hadn't put it together. Xander's not himself right now. You don't know what you're going to get from the LIV guys. A few of them might be a real challenge this week. But for the most part, the big guns haven't been out there in force this year. And Scottie is the biggest gun out there who is not quite himself. But, past champions show up at this place. He's very close. But it's hard to repeat here. Only 3 guys have done it, and it's a club so many of these guys want to join, just like Rory wanted to win that career slam, that puts another little bit of layer of pressure on Scottie too. So, he's 1 and 1A are my favorites right there, those two. But I think Rory's a little ahead of him.
Isn't Bryson DeChambeau? I mean, I said this before the U.S. Open, and actually had a ticket on him to top 5. He's kind of undervalued at 20-1 for me. I don't care what he's done this year on LIV, and I haven't paid a lick of attention to anything that's gone on in LIV. I know they played at Doral. Maybe they're still playing at Doral. I don't know. Could care less what's going on down there. But to me, DeChambeau's got to be one of the top choices.
That would definitely be a value pick. You never know what you're going to get from him here, though. He's sometimes brilliant when he comes here, and he's other times been awful. So you never quite know. I think he's a better pick at some of the other majors than he is here, even though he has all the tools to win here. And as he showed last year, I mean, he was right there until he sort of screwed it up on Saturday.
On the 15th.
Yeah. So, but then the other years, like in years past, he's been terrible. He tries to overpower the course too much. If he lets it come to him, he's dangerous. If he tries to do too much, he basically shoots himself out of it.
Is maybe the sneaky favorite from that tour Joaquin Niemann?
Well, he definitely is. And he's got a decent record here. It's never been great. He's never been in the thick of it. But he's young, and he's so good. I really think, he's the guy that the PGA Tour is missing more than anybody, because he's a young and really potential superstar. But, excuse me, Patrick Reed is also a little bit scary right now.
Is he? Isn't he always?
I think so. Yeah, that's true.
What about Jon Rahm?
I think Jon Rahm is definitely going to be a factor this year. He was so disappointing in the majors, last year, and that I think he's got a chip on his shoulder and he has something to prove. And this course is perfect for him too. I mean, he's not been far off. He's not been great. He's not been lights out this year when he's played at LIV, but he's not been far off. And he played terrific at the end of last year. I think he's got a real chip on his shoulder and wants to prove something.
Scott Michaux, Irish Examiner, Global Golf Post, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Masters starts Thursday. I think tomorrow we'll find out what the pairings are for it. Now, real quick about just the dynamic with a guy like Rahm, and maybe some other guys too. Maybe this applies to Brooks Koepka. I get the sense, Rahm's come to grips with his decision. He's obviously, I don't think he looks at LIV. I think he thought that him going would end the war and we would solve this dilemma. That obviously hasn't happened. It doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. To the latest offer of $1.5 billion in investment in PGA Tour Enterprises was rejected by the PGA Tour. My sense is he's just kind of resigned himself to the fact that he's going to be playing boring golf for at least the next bit of time. I think Koepka's looking for the end of his contract. What do you think?
I certainly think you're right about Koepka. I think as soon as it's over, I think he'll be applying for reinstatement somehow for the PGA Tour, because I don't think he likes playing meaningless golf. He never really liked playing regular tour events either.
Right, because those were meaningless to him. The only ones that really mattered was the majors.
Exactly, and I just feel he just thinks he's wasting his time and spinning his wheels over there, and so I think he will want to come back, and I think eventually that Rahm will. But I believe Rahm signed a very long contract, and see, he should be resigned, because I think he's stuck with it for maybe 5 years, and that's too bad, because I do think his body language seems to illustrate that he has some regrets about what he did and that it didn't turn out the way he thought it would.
Yeah, look, and I'm not trying to be like geopolitical about this whole thing. I think Greg Norman sold all of them a bill. It was never like he said it was going to be. There wouldn't be acceptance. There wouldn't be world golf rankings points. They wouldn't have, like, some of the guys need special exemptions to get into major championships. And right. I mean, that's just the way it is. And that is unfortunate for them. They did make their decision, and I think my biggest knock on the whole thing is that it distorted the money on the. I mean, the PGA Tour was never worth the kind of money they're paying right now, and I don't know that that's sustainable. What the PGA Tour is paying out, and it doesn't even come close to what they're getting over at LIV. That is the worst business model ever.
It really is. And it's funny, Eugenio Chacarra was here yesterday for the final round of the Augusta National Women's Amateur, because his little sister, Carolina Lopez Chacarra, finished ninth or top 9 in the thing. So he was out here watching, and he just won on the DP World Tour after leaving LIV this year. And we talked about how, he says, I don't regret going over there. The money's great. It was life-changing and all this stuff. He said, but that's all it was about. Was money. He says it didn't mean anything. I need to get back to golf that means something. I want to play on the PGA Tour. I want to play in tournaments that mean something. And that, coming from a guy who just spent 3 years on LIV, that tells you something. That this is probably the inner feelings of a lot of those guys, the guys who want to matter.
Yeah.
Not the guys who took the golden parachute. For them, this is gravy. It's great.
Yep.
And more power to them. I don't blame them at all for doing that. They were no longer relevant on this tour. But these young guys like Chacarra, like Neiman, I think they would really like to play meaningful golf, and they're not playing it over there.
Yeah, that is, again, they made that choice. That's fine. But it is, I'd love to see all of them. I don't think this is going to get resolved anytime soon. Before we get back to the menu very quickly, a guy like Russell Henley, who's got a win already, seems like his game, because he's so good around the greens, would be suited to at least threaten to, as one of those, tour grinders, rank and file players, a great one, but a rank and file player nonetheless, to maybe sneak a green jacket, or anybody else like that you've got your eye on this week.
Well, you stole my pick, because Russell Henley is the guy. I really think you're right. I said after he won at Arnold Palmer, I believe I texted Ron Green Jr. from Charlotte immediately when it was over, I said, that may be your Masters winner this year, because he's got a game that works here. He plays well here. He's top 12. He's back in this field this year because he had a good finish last year, not because he won last month.
Right.
You're right. He's a very good one. I think Sepp Straka is also another one, another UGA Bulldog, and who grew up in Georgia, even though he's, from Austria. But he grew up in South Georgia. And those guys, they do well here. And I think Strech is playing really good, consistent golf this year. He might not have quite the skill set that Henley does that suits the golf course better, but I think he would be another dark horse. And then this is not a dark horse at all. Colin Morikawa. He's due. He's due to win at some point.
Yeah.
He's there every freaking week. And at some point he's not going to screw up. One day, and I would put some money on him if he got an each way bet going.
Yeah, the biggest misnomer is that you have to be a great putter to win at Augusta. You don't. You have to be a great putter that week, or at least a good putter that week. It's about second shots, and it's about can you get out of trouble when you miss the green. Scott Michaux, Global Golf Post, Irish Examiner. All right, back to the menu. Chicken sandwich, check. Give me another menu item and then the desserts that you must have, because I know we've got listeners who are coming down for practice rounds and maybe the opening round on Thursday.
Well, there's a new item, and I have not had it yet, that is on the menu out on the course called the savory tomato pie.
Oh.
And I'm very curious to go get it. It looks a little like an empanada or a meat pie that you would get in Australia or the UK.
Right.
And several people have tried it and they liked it.
Okay.
It's like it has been, derisively described as sort of a hot pocket with a little pizza tasty, but I'm a big tomato pie guy, and it's a Georgia thing. And I think I'm going to give that a try. So we'll see. I can give you a review on that later.
All right.
But the cheese straws are my favorite snack now.
Okay.
They're fantastic. The gnome this year is wearing a shirt with Georgia Peach ice cream sandwich all over it, and that's the big shirt that you can get in conjunction with the gnome. And it's always a wildly popular thing. But my only problem with it is it's either too cold and too hard, or I've waited too long and it gets too messy and melty. So I've never quite hit the sweet spot on that one. So I tend to stick with the savory things like the cheese straws and the popcorn.
So the peach dessert is a little high on the club face. You're just off the sweet spot, and that's fair.
Exactly.
Scott Michaux, Irish Examiner, Global Golf Post. Thank you very much. Enjoy the week. I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Adam.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah. I saw Darren Ravel tweeted out a picture of all of the items that you could get on the course. And Masters concessions are the food concessions, notoriously inexpensive. No joke. Like, you go to any other event, you go to whether it's a U.S. Open or you go to Rex Hospital Open. Mm-hmm. You go to the food concessions, and I'm not ripping them. It's just reality. You walk away like a sandwich, a hamburger, and a beer probably cost you $20.
For sure.
You could eat all day for $20 at Augusta.
Oh.
Yeah, all day. Nice. So, yeah, the food concessions are notoriously inexpensive. So Rovell tweeted out a picture of everything, and he goes, you get what you pay for.
Oh, no.
Slamming the concessions. Look, I've never been, so I can't vouch for it one way or the other, but again, maybe Ravel is right.
I don't know.
But there are people who go a lot that love it, and whatever.
Well, they make up for it in the merchandise, I'm sure.
I'm sure they do.
That is not cheap.
All right, Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News in San Antonio. We're going to check in with him in advance of the championship game, which we might not even mention. Next.
From the heels,
touchdown, Carolina,
to the canes.
She scores!
He covers it all. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And here it is, the national championship game in college basketball from the best place to have the basketball tournament, San Antonio. And you can enjoy it on the best sports betting app on planet Earth. It is FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So choose wisely, pick something easy, win, and then get $200 of their money. FanDuel.com/AGS. It's the biggest game on the biggest stage. FanDuel.com/AGS. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
This April, join North Carolina Realtors in celebrating Fair Housing Month. Fair housing means everyone deserves a place to call home, regardless of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, or disability. NC Realtors are committed to fair housing for all North Carolinians and ensuring that everyone has access to safe and affordable housing. Let's work together to create communities where everyone can thrive. Visit ncrealtors.org to learn more about fair housing. Paid for by NC Realtors.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is looking for people age 21 or older to volunteer in long-term care facilities. Community Advisory Committee volunteers help residents and their families advocate for the needs of individuals living in long-term care facilities, such as nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and family care homes. Volunteers must complete orientation and training to become designated and certified representatives of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Visit ncdhhs.gov/aging to find your county's ombudsman.
Every day, people battling addiction suffer in silence. Because of stigma, they fear judgment. They fear being labeled, and too often, they don't get the help they need. But you can help change that. Join the Governor's Institute and be a superhero in the overdose battle campaign. Learn how to break the stigma, support those in need, and save lives. Visit governorsinstitute.org/superhero to get involved. Be a hero. Fight stigma. Save a life.
The Body Armor State Games are coming to Greensboro this June. Registration is open to athletes of all ages and skill levels in 20 different sports. The Body Armor State Games feature 11,000 athletes and 600 teams. Don't miss out on North Carolina's largest sports festival of the year. Visit bodyarmorstategames.org today. That's bodyarmorstategames.org. The Body Armor State Games are proud to partner with Truist, Lowe's Foods, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina.
Did you know that since you have public power, your electricity is operated and controlled by people in your community, not by a for-profit, investor-owned company? These local folks are directly accountable to you. They don't answer to shareholders. They make decisions for the good of your community. What's more, your public power provider invests in your community, providing jobs and supporting your local economy. Local people working together to meet local needs. That's public power. Learn more at electricities.com.
One Adam Gold. One Adam Gold.
So I was reading an article about the 10 oddest Guinness World Records, and the thing that caught my eye was most skips by a cat in 1 minute. This woman has a jump rope and is skipping with her cat. Okay, I have got a cat, and let me just tell you, the skipping alone would cause this, but swinging a jump rope anywhere near my sweet kitty Carol, she'd be gone for like 5 days.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. National championship game tonight. Florida and Houston. But what? I fell asleep. Duke had a 14-point lead. What? So let's dig in with Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News, Hall of Fame college basketball writer, columnist at large for The Sporting News at TSN Mike on Twitter. How surprised were you at the last 10, 12 minutes of the game Saturday night, the second game Saturday night?
I guess it depends on when you ask. Like, how surprised was I based on, like, halftime or the 10-minute mark of the second half, or at the 4-minute timeout when I started charting what Cooper Flagg had done with his offensive attempts over the previous 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That was when I started to realize what I had warned, so to speak, Duke about all last week after the matchup against Houston was set. In any interview that I did, I said, the thing that Duke cannot do is let Houston into their heads.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tennessee opened the door as soon as the ball was flown in the air and scored 15 first-half points. All because the things that you normally do can become difficult to do, and you have to – then you're going to have some empty trips because of that. But you can't allow it to change the way you play. You may change the strategy, but not change your confidence level, not change your belief, not change your toughness. All of those things, if you allow them to change, you're beaten. And that's what happened to Duke. When Cooper Flagg stopped playing like Cooper Flagg and started shooting followays and step backs, and it's like, okay, you can see it. Now, even at that, that's what opened that's not alone what opened the door. What really opened the door was Mason Gillis's contact technical, which was a massive mistake for a player in that circumstance to make. But that's what opened the door. And then Cooper, you could see him start to do that. And then, so now the masses are rushing in through the door. And I will tell you, though, that I did not think that they were going to lose that game until they got the ball in bounds and Tyrese Proctor went to the line. And I don't bet on basketball, as you know, but I would have taken everything. However much it might be eroding at the moment, I would have taken everything and bet on him to miss the front end. I knew he wasn't going to make that shot. It just had gotten to the point where they had done everything else wrong, so this was going to turn out wrong too.
Yeah, the play-by-play, and I remembered it in real time, but the play-by-play over the last 2 minutes and 7 seconds when they had the lead, a 7-point lead with the ball with 2:07 to go. And that team, the way they had played down the stretch in the games where they were challenged, it just didn't go well. Turnovers, there were 2 of them. The missed front end, poor shot selection, committing fouls, letting Houston score without making it. There was 1 field goal, I think, for Houston in the final 2.5 minutes of that game. They just kept getting to the free throw line. And I want to get to the John Shire aspect of this in a second, but I want to big picture this just once. And I know how you're going to react to this, which is why I saved this for you, Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. In some ways, I think Duke got Gonzaga'd in the semifinal, in that they had run through the conference so easily. They lost the 1 game at Clemson. They were pushed only 2 other times in their conference games. I guess a little bit at Wake, but Wake wasn't very good. They were pushed by State at Cameron, but again, State wasn't very good, and they were still pushed. And in the ACC quarterfinal against Carolina, should have lost the game, completely lost their way in the second half. They just weren't challenged enough, and while I thought they played in such a way that should have kept them immune to that, I think, and to me it's about Houston and the way they played too. I just didn't think Duke was able to handle that moment very well at all. And I don't think it's crazy to think that the fact that the league was so poor contributed to that.
I think that's a fair statement, but the fact that, it was only a close game in a sense because of how Duke allowed it to be a close game sort of mitigates that a little bit, because Houston is excellent, don't get me wrong, but Duke had beaten the excellence at the 32-minute mark of the game. That they had conquered that excellence, and Houston's not the type of team that has a lot of offensive firepower, as you mentioned, didn't score a lot of buckets down the stretch. They shouldn't be able to come back on you unless you allow them to, and you allow them to by relenting, for lack of a better term, by allowing Houston's defensive pressure to change not how you play. You're going to change how you play because of how they defend. You have to, but you don't have to allow them to conquer you. And that's what Duke did after the Gillis foul. That all of a sudden it was not the same Duke team. They realized that it wasn't one, and they started to become changed by the Houston approach. Would it have helped them to have been in close games in that circumstance? I'm not sure, because none of those games would have carried the same consequence as this one.
Right. True. The tournament. I mean, you could get overcome by the tournament. My friend Trip Tracy, analyst for the Hurricanes, likes to say, do you grab the moment or does the moment grab you? And I think the moment grabbed, and I think this was Cooper Flagg. I think it grabbed him. I think it certainly grabbed Tyrese Proctor and Sion James and Mason Gillis. And I think to an extent it grabbed John Shire too. So I want to get to a couple of things that I saw. Like, I thought taking the air out of the ball, trying to shorten the game late, had just happened too soon. I get doing that, with 2.5 minutes to go and you have a 10 or a 10-point lead or so. But like 6 minutes to go, they start, trying to let 15 seconds run off the clock without doing anything. Duke could have run their offense and still let, 20, 25 seconds run off the clock. But they chose to try to, shorten the game, and I think it hurt them offensively.
I don't think that's unfair, although I didn't feel it at the time, in part because they were maintaining not a grand lead, but relatively the lead that existed after the Gillis foul was still in place when we got to 2 minutes. So it didn't strike me that they had mismanaged the time. They weren't going to extend the lead playing the way they were, and that's where I go back to some of the Cooper shots. Those are low percentage shots, even for the best freshmen in recent history.
Yeah.
They are not great plays. And are you going to get the offensive rebound against them? You're not getting that ball. It just doesn't happen. So that's why I didn't like that aspect of it more so than necessarily the timing and the approach. But I can understand your point.
Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. From your view, was it more player or scheme, Duke's inability to get the ball in bounds with any comfort? There was one turnover. There was a near turnover. A forced timeout call. It just seemed like Sion James was trying to be too careful, and that maybe a change in who inbounded the ball might have helped Duke.
Yeah, I think there were two things that could have happened there. I do think that there was a reluctance to take a chance on throwing the ball in bounds, no doubt. But I think that when they called the timeout, they needed to make – and, I mean, I would feel more comfortable with somebody who had a different view than me because I am below the court, so I can't see everything about how the players are moving. But I did not see a great differential in any of the inbounds plays that they ran. It looked more or less like the players lined up around the hash, more or less.
Yep.
And then they would run different circuits to try to get back to the ball. And that was basically what they ran on every single one of those. And even after the timeout, I thought, okay, they're going to run the football play now. They have to, right? I don't even know if they ever practiced it. But everybody that does it, it works. And all they needed to do was get it in, especially on the one that followed the three-pointer. Once it was down to three, it's 20 to 25 seconds, more or less. All you have to do is get it in, and you've got a shot to put the lead to 2 possessions. And the odds of them scoring twice in what remained of the game are really slim. So all you have to do at that point is get it in, and they ran the same thing, and that's when when the turnover happened, and it ends up at that point it gets cut to a single to
one, right?
To the 1 point lead, and at that point Proctor goes to the line, and I mentioned how not confident I was that was going to work out, and I thought Proctor mismanaged that play as well. He didn't have to be fouled when he was fouled. He could have taken the ball toward the goal and seen if maybe he could get fouled in the act of shooting. He could have taken the ball to the open corner to the right and cut more time off. He could have found another teammate. Like, I don't know how open Knipple was at that point, but I believe he was in the opposite corner, if my memory serves. And obviously he would be the guy you'd want to shoot those free throws. I mean, I was surprised, to be honest with you, when Tyrese took that foul. I assumed he must be an 80% shooter. It wasn't something that was on my radar. Then I look it up, and he's 68, and I'm like, why is he doing that?
Yeah, 68, and it was really tournament numbers that had dropped his percentage down. He spent most of the year, I think, in the 70s. Look, Tyrese had a rough game against NC State last year in the Elite Eight. He had played so well. He had a great year. And really a dynamite first weekend of the ACC tournament, but he was not very good in the game, obviously, on Saturday night. Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. A couple of more things, and then we'll let you go. Shire has mentioned that, we tried it as a different way, and they did. Heavily reliant on freshmen, newcomers, the transfer portal, and not a lot of continuity. The continuity is really Proctor and Caleb Foster. And John didn't use his bench in the second half. Foster, I thought, was effective early, and we really didn't see any of, other than Malik Brown and that, the few moments from Mason Gillis. We didn't see a bench in the second half, which is maybe a little bit of an issue. But what do you make of the way Duke tried it? Do they need more of a blend of returnees, not just transfer portal guys, but returnees, or does it really matter at this point?
It's hard to get returnees. It's not easy to do that. I mean, I think you'll see that. Will Proctor stay? Will Foster stay? When you think about it, I mean, okay, there's a Duke degree out there to get for him. I mean, he's going to play a lot next year, but will he start? Other places he can start.
Yeah.
And if he's a starter for you, what is he? I mean, because he's not really a point guard. He'd have to become a better three-point shooter to become a 30-minute-a-game player for Duke. And that's probably what his goal should be, because if he's going to play any significant basketball after college, then he needs to be a more consistent outside shooter.
Right.
But do you get to keep him? I don't know. I don't know if Tyrese comes back. He certainly isn't ready for the NBA, but I don't know. And so my thing is that people often reach for the easy answer. I agree with you about the continuity. If you can build it, but it's hard to do. But the easy answer about freshmen versus veterans. The veterans made the biggest mistakes on Saturday. Coop went away from what he's good at,
right,
and what he can do and what he could have done, but he still scored 25 points or 27 points and was the best player on the floor. But he wasn't the guy who got the contact technical. He wasn't the one who didn't inbound the ball properly, and he wasn't the one who missed the front end. Those were all veteran players. So I think that needs to be noted when it's discussed about freshman versus veteran, and there will be a less significant gap between freshmen and veterans going forward. We won't have the 5th, 6th-year COVID players. There will be very few of them in the 25-26 season. There may be a few that had a ACL tear or whatever, but the predominance of those players will be ended at this year.
Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News is joining us. Final question, and I'm sorry that we're not even going to mention the fact that Houston and Florida are playing for the national championship tonight, which should be, total contrast. Florida's a good defensive team too, but a total contrast to me in these two particular teams. But how do you view Duke's season from where you sit writing nationally?
Well, my view of this is that I think there's certainly a disappointment when you have the game and it gets away from you, and you are the best team and you're capable of winning a national championship. But unless you're a team like 91 Vegas or 15 Kentucky or someone in that stratosphere, and this Duke team was terrific, they weren't that. I don't think you can look at a Final Four as a disappointing season. I'm sure every single player on that team knows how close they came to playing for the ring, and again, they would have gone as a favorite. But I just don't think that you can look at this as disappointing. I think it's certainly an opportunity for everybody involved to learn. I think Cooper's going to learn from what happened in those final 8 minutes, and he's already a phenomenal prospect, and he'll be even better because he played in it. And I think John will learn from it. That you have to have more in your bag when you get into a situation like that. Because, look, Tony Bennett, it happened to him against Syracuse in 2016. He had that game locked, and then Syracuse went to an all-out scramble press, came back and won. And the same year Mark Few did. And those guys both ended up in national championship games subsequent to that. And, of course, Tony won his in 19. So you learn from those situations. When you go through them. This was John's first real occasion where he had that lead. The other team went to a scramble, more or less. I'm sure it's a little bit because it was so it was such a refined situation. It wasn't quite a scramble, but it was certainly frantic. And so they didn't cope with that. And the next time around, they're going to have games where they get well ahead of their opposition in single game eliminations. And next time around, they'll have better answers than they did this time.
Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News, nobody better, at TSN Mike on Twitter. Thank you very much, my friend. Enjoy the game tonight. I'll probably watch it. I will. There's nothing else on. The fake golf, the TGL stuff is over. So there's nothing else going on tonight, and there's no shows that I'm watching right now. So I'll watch the game tonight because you're there. I appreciate your time.
All right, thanks, Adam.
You got it. Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. All right. For the people, I want to get to the Hurricanes here, but let me just say one more thing about Duke. For the people who want to talk about this as a failure, the season as a failure, the game, definitely a failure. When you look at where Duke was in the game, even if they weren't playing great, not everybody played well in this game. Like Cooper Flagg was in and out. When he was in, he was amazing. But when he was out, you're going, really? Why are we doing that? I thought Con Knipple played consistently the best of all Duke players. But Proctor, James, Malawach, they didn't play well at all, in my opinion. And yet Duke still led by 14 with like half the second half to go. So they should have won the game. They had to do a lot wrong to lose the game. So Saturday night was a failure. The season? Man, that's a leap I'm just not willing to go with. All right, real quick before we get out of here. Hurricanes off today. Andrei Svechnikov, Jordan Staal, and William Carrier all practiced today. Carrier was not in a yellow non-contact jersey. Doesn't mean he's going to draw in tomorrow in Buffalo, but maybe. And that would certainly be a welcome sign for Carolina to get him back up to speed. Hopefully, he can get a few games in before the end of the regular season, and then playoffs come, and you've got William Carrier at your disposal. I don't know how Rod Brindamore is going to set up his team going into the playoffs. I don't know if he reunites Carrier with Staal and Martinook to create that checking line, which, by the way, also dominated possession at the same time. I don't know how the other pieces are going to fit. I don't know if Rod wants to stay with Aho, Jarvis, and Blake on the small side, but certainly an outstanding line creating offense and also just having the puck so you don't have it. Of course, the last couple of games, it wasn't as good in terms of defense. So we don't know how it's going to work out. But I want to spend our last 90 seconds on why it is so important for Andrei Svechnikov to get back and start playing the way he's supposed to play. It has been such a difficult year in getting Andrei, going. I can't tell you how many times I've asked the question directly or in a roundabout way of Rod, and I've spoken with him 100 times since the season began. Basically, how do you get Andrei going? And it's about Andrei. And it's going to sound weird, but if Andrei doesn't, I'm sure he's going to come back and play in 3 or 4 of these games. If Andrei doesn't get back to playing his style, it won't happen in game 1 of the playoffs or even game 2. But Andrei, based on how other people have played, Andrei becomes a candidate to come out of the lineup. Because right now, he does not deserve a spot in your top 6. Can Andrei play on a 4th line in the postseason? Because that's where we're trending. They need him to play. Victoria, thank you very much. No hockey game tonight. Watch the basketball game if you want. Or watch a movie.
Talking sports, dropping truth. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify,